Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Ladies, gentlemen, friends, foes, lurkers, regulars, GMO people, organic people.
Boiler room inbound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Boiler Room. I'm your host. My call sign is Hesher. Thank you for joining us tonight. It's May the 19th of 2022, and I want to welcome you to this live broadcast. And we are broadcasting on rockfin.com. What's up, Rockfin? We're broadcasting at youtube.com. What's up, YouTube? And Spreaker.com and alternatecurrentradio.com. Thank you once again for joining us tonight. It's getting hot out here in Texas. I guess it's still spring, but we're already getting summer weather, and they're already threatening to shut our power grid down. I'm going to cross that green line, right? I'm going to cross the green line. Somebody come along with their clipboard and flip the power off. But hey, we'll save that round. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. I hope everybody's doing well out there. Is everybody looking forward to summer vacations? Yeah, everything's back to normal, right? We're in a post-COVID world, right? We can all move around and go places without masks. We can fly places without masks. Oh my gosh, revelatory! Woo, the muzzle was taken off, but I suppose there's some people out there that were looking forward to a normal summer, first one in 3 years, arguably. But now gas is no lower than $4 a gallon in any of the 50 states, as far as we can tell. And that is pretty crazy, and that might actually end up messing with some people's vacation plans, because all of a sudden, if you drive a diesel truck or a car that takes higher octane fuel like my own, the actual going from point A to point B has become a much larger expense than it was. Very interesting. Let's see what else. Cost of energy has gone up here for us. Cost of dog food has gone up here for us. Fuel, obviously, and if you need baby formula, well, you probably shouldn't feed that to your baby anyway if you can help it, because I forgot to read the ingredients last week when we were talking about it. I meant to, but I just recommend everybody look up the ingredients themselves. I don't see why anyone would feed a beautiful baby high fructose corn syrup and soy, but I guess to each their own, and sometimes that's the only option. I also noticed a little quick tip here, little PSA. There are old, like more heritage-ish, old school DIY recipes that a person can find online. So it really doesn't need to be a crisis, but hey, you know how it goes out there. I don't understand it. But one man's crisis is another man's opportunity, or mom's in this case, perhaps. All right, welcome everybody, and let's just get right into it. Let's open the door to the green room here. Oh my gosh, look at this! We got a packed room. This is wonderful. Let's go through it. I'll talk to my neighbor here. Mindspace Art, welcome to the show. Mindspace, how you doing?
Proud neighbor here. I'm doing great. Glad to be on the show. Let's keep the introductions brief, perhaps, since there's such a heavy lineup here tonight. But yeah, it's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm sure we'll get to boiling and cooking up something good here tonight.
Yeah, we got the heavy hitters in here tonight. Great to see you. We've got Odd Man out, man behind the Oddcast. Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
What's up, man? It's awesome to be with you all. This is a big party. I can't wait.
Woohoo! Yeah, it is a big party. We're gonna have some fun tonight. My notes are an absolute chaotic mosh pit. We've got way more stuff than we're going to be able to cover. And I promise I'll try to not make it a 4-hour show for everybody, but we'll see how it goes. Sometimes it just flows. Great to see you, man.
You too, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Up next, we got Infidel Pharaoh joining us. Infidel, what is up? And welcome back to the Boiler Room. Oh, is Infidel AFK? All right, we'll circle back to Infidel.
No, I'm here. I was trying to find my unmute button.
Welcome, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Looking forward for that show, and I just started my hookah, and I'm ready.
All right, what flavor we got in it tonight?
I got mint watermelon.
Ooh, nice. That sounds good. Well, enjoy a couple extra puffs for everybody, and we'll get cooking here, man. All right. Cool. Let's say hello to the Wandering Wolf, Mr. Corey Drayton. Once again, Corey, how you doing? Welcome back to the Boiler Room.
Hey, Asher, thanks for having me back. It's been a busy but good day, and I'm happy to be here with all of you tonight. It's a full house, so have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a full house. We're gonna have a good time tonight. Great to have you with us. Let's see. Next, we've got the man behind the Daily Ruckus. Ruckus, what's going on? And welcome back to the Boiler Room.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here. Hope I'm coming in loud and clear. I got my mohawk going on tonight, sort of. It's a little messed up, but it's my good luck mohawk. So let's see if it helps us get through all the garbage we're probably going to have to look at.
Yeah, there's definitely some garbage in the notes, man. Great to see you, though. See that boiler room coffee mug in the background there. Nice one. All right. We got Chopper making a combat landing here. Chopper, oh my gosh, this is the first time you've been in the StreamYard with us and on the Rockfin with us. It's about time we had the Chopper make a landing into the boiler room. Chopper, what's up, dude?
Nice. Yeah, it's good to be here. I've been missing hanging out with you guys. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you, man. You sound good.
Okay, good, because I just got here late and everything. But real quick, I know we want to be quick, but I have a 7th grader and she had art class. Oh, so there we go. She made this for me to have in the studio in her art class. So I told her I would show it off.
Nice one. That is a 7th grader that knows what the heck is going on out there. Very good. Awesome, man. I love it. Thanks for sharing. That's great. Yeah. Parents, we want to see everybody's kids' art so we can put it on our theoretical refrigerator here. So I know that one's going to end up on Chopper's refrigerator or the studio wall there. Awesome, man. Great to have you with us. Glad you're able to join us tonight.
Yeah. Great to be here. I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I've been missing hanging out with you guys. I don't miss the shows though. I do get to listen, but it's been hectic over here, but we're hanging in there, so it's all good.
All right. Well, between you and Rambo, we've got security covered tonight, so I'm feeling pretty good that you're here, my friend.
Right on. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That leads us to the one, the only, the very lovely, the curator of all things Whiskey Tango Foxtrot on the interwebs. Lovely Spore. Welcome to the show. How are you this evening?
Thank you. I am excellent and happy to be here per usual.
Oh, yeah. We got a great audience out there, very patient with us. It takes a little bit of canoodling to get these things prepared. And we're canoodled, we're prepared, we're ready to rock, and we're ready to break ice.
Oh, yeah. And Chopper's got the fucking nips out. Pardon my language. He's got the guns out.
Scare jar, huh, Spore?
It's hot in Arizona right now, apparently.
The 6 shooters are out.
We have attained 100 degrees in the studio. Yes, that has happened now. So,
yeah, we're getting into that season here. Apparently, spring is not going to be much different from summer. Who knows what that's all about? But yes, all right, Spore. So, what are we kicking off with tonight?
Well, this one is from Photon out there in the UK, one of our dear friends and rejects. The title is Arby's manager caught urinating in milkshake mix. This is from the New York Post. I'm just going to read the first few lines of this and you can all wax poetic on it. The manager shared that he enjoyed relieving himself in the shakes at the Vancouver Arby's location. So an Arby's manager allegedly urinated in the milkshake mix at the fast food eatery for his own sexual gratification on at least 2 occasions, cops said. Stephen Sharp, who was being investigated for child pornography, admitted to police that he enjoyed relieving himself in the restaurant's milkshake mix while working as a night manager at the Vancouver, Washington location. The Arby's manager was arrested by Vancouver police and confessed to downloading and distributing child pornography and having a sexual interest in children on May 10th. Officers executed a search warrant and uncovered dozens of photos and videos depicting the sexual exploitation of children, as well as the urine video on his digital devices. He downloaded the disturbing content within the chain restaurant on at least one occasion. Investigators are looking for any unlucky customers who bought and drank the urine-contaminated shakes. Vancouver police are asking anyone who purchased a milkshake from the Arby's at specific address in Vancouver, Washington, and if they had a receipt with them still.
No one keeps the Arby receipt.
Right?
Wow. This guy was just begging to get caught. My goodness. Or really, really deranged. I don't know. That's my initial thought. Anyone, open mosh pit. Anyone jump in there if you want.
Well, my first thought is, there's video cameras everywhere now. They're on the streets. They're at stoplights. They're in fast food restaurants. This guy, I was a little surprised that he had it all he was videoing it himself for his own self-gratification when there's likely other devices recording his actions.
Yeah. Is that what do you make of that, Spore? Is that one of those is that a voyeuristic kink? Or I guess that's when you're just watching people doing stuff. But I'm having a hard time even understanding how this
I don't know. I might have the term wrong for the voyeuristic thing, but I think it might be when you like being watched as well.
I guess that works. Yeah, that fits
is correct.
That's
Yeah.
exhibitionism.
Yeah. Exhibitionism.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a question real quick. Which came first? Was this guy, did they have attention on this guy because of the urinating or because of the child stuff?
The article is not very clear about that, but kind of what I really don't know, but I think just from the article that they were already suspect of him for child pornography, and then they happenstance on his peeing in the milkshakes.
That's what I was afraid of. So basically, if this guy didn't get in trouble for something, nobody would have ever known he was doing this. Nobody would have been the wiser. It didn't state, there was nobody that had a milkshake, tasted it, drank it, and was like, this tastes a little funny. Seriously? What does that tell you about Arby's? I'm just saying, if you've had Arby's, it's not the greatest. Chances are this is just some FUD piece written by some top executive in McDonald's or something. A competitor.
But to your point there, I think we should all be suspicious of what's going into whatever fast food that we might be eating, because, we've all heard terrible stories of different things that have happened in these places. And I'd have to say a lot of them are probably true.
My advice, just eat your sandwich dry and don't get it with a Jew.
No au jus from Arby's, huh?
Nope.
Oh man,
you guys went to my first thing. There is that we don't know what we're getting when we go to these places, and I was actually a little shocked it turned to the CP thing. I just thought this guy was just he was disgruntled, or obviously he's an asshole or whatever, but you don't really know what you're getting in these places or where it's been, and especially these larger corporate places like that. Personally, I don't eat out that much, but when I do, most of the time it's always at the same couple places, and I'm homies with the guys back there. Hey, what's up, dudes? You know what I mean? Hope that might make some difference, but I wouldn't know. And Ruckus has a great point, because nobody knew. I bet you nobody noticed that in their milkshake.
Right.
But guys, this is not the first time that in food industry we hear about people spitting or doing nasty stuff in their food. So I'm not surprised. Let's put it this way. How many times did you hear people spitting in people's food?
Oh yeah. it's a tale it's like a biblical tale at this point.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And Arby's too. I mean, on the trustworthiness scale, I know it's a sliding scale with a very low bar, but Wandering Wolf, I don't know. Arby's to me is just like way, way down there at the bottom.
Yes, it is. I mean, I certainly, for many, many years, have not bothered to set one foot into a fast food restaurant, and if I did, it certainly wouldn't be an Arby's. So it's interesting. I mean, this story is actually it's a local story because Vancouver, Washington, is just right across the river from me. And so there's sort of you can kind of think of the place as just one big strip mall. That's really all it is. It's just suburbia. It's strip malls. It's people who live in Portland kind of look down on Vancouver because Vancouver is more the real world in a sense. So I do get a bit of a chuckle that this is local, but you know, I have to wonder. Okay, how long was this guy employed at this location? He'd probably been doing this for, you know, as long as he'd been there. And the first thought that came to mind on the headline was between the urinating in the mix and the CP, his career in politics is certainly off to a great start.
Yeah, he's gonna get recruited by the DNC at this rate, right, Odd Man? That's perfect.
Oh man, it reminds me a few years ago, well, a couple decades ago now, I was working with this lady and her husband was the manager at it was a Hardee's, which is like a Carl's Jr. And he came in one day and he caught this guy. He was massaging his rig and putting spooge into the gravy. And this was actually written up in the paper. He got arrested for it. So you know, like you guys said, this kind of thing, probably just weird things like this go on all the time. I've heard other stories when I was younger from friends who were working in these restaurants and the kitchens and stuff. And it's just like, it makes you never want to go to these places. And of course, every now and then you have to because you're hungry and there's no other choice. But it's just horrible what all of us have probably eaten in our lifetimes and have no clue. And this guy was just is a horrible person on so many levels. It's just unbelievable. So let's hope that he gets what he deserves.
Yeah, really. At least, yeah, I don't think it's gonna go well for him if the CP charges go through. Those folks often do get what they deserve or worse in some cases. But I don't know. I guess Ghislaine Maxwell just got 10 years knocked off her sentence while we were all distracted with you know.
So how many did she end up with? Like nothing?
It's actually still substantial. It's still like I've seen a lot of people freaking about it, but she's what, 60 years old, and I think it's they haven't actually done the sentencing yet, so it's still it's going to happen in June. But they and the good news is that her lawyers they moved to dismiss the whole case because of that one juror that had been had a childhood trauma, had been sexually abused or something like that, and they decided they were not going to throw the case out, so that's good. And the maximum sentence that she can get for the 6 counts that she has is 55 years. So if a maximum sentence is actually given to someone that's 60 years old, the 10 years may not really mean much.
Okay. I just want to comment about this. That want to throw out the case because if someone had a childhood trauma. If this is the case, then every case that's on like with a juror right now should be thrown out because there is no one that doesn't have a bias, especially when it comes to SJW type of cases or like racial type of cases or anything that has to do with like like conservative versus liberal type of cases. It just can you actually separate any bias right now from jurors? Not actually ding the whole thing, but the argument itself is just silly if you want to throw that out because if someone has a childhood trauma.
Yeah, man. At this point, that's a good point because the whole point, one of our theses here in the boiler room is that these dialectics and narratives that were being constantly spoon fed, you know, just fire hosed into the third eye from modern media, is polarization. They want us polarized. That's why the political dialectic is ramping up. It's increasing. It's getting worse and more insane all the time. So, yeah, in especially like in the here and now, I totally agree with you, Infidel. It's like we can't agree on what a woman is anymore, even at the Supreme Court level. So yeah, it's become, I imagine, being a lawyer, a cop, a judge, any of these jobs right now are probably just extremely frustrating. Teachers, my goodness, we keep hearing from teachers and people that have kids in school and just hearing crazy stuff. I mean, Wandering Wolf, we talked on this show recently about a story about someone who identified as a cat in the school, and they were talking about needing a cat box. And you actually saw one of those cases in your real space, didn't you? Am I allowed to say that on the show? I don't know if that was private or not.
No, that was not private at all. No, that I found out about that just a few days ago. I was having a meeting with an associate, and he was telling me because he's involved in a lot of anti-CRT work in the school systems nationwide, and he was the one who told me about it. He said that they're starting to institutionalize these rules in schools, whereby if a student identifies as a feline, the school has to provide services to that student. And so these services are showing up in the form of litter boxes and cat toys. I mean, it's the strangest thing that this sort of madness is being institutionally legitimized on such a large scale. I don't know exactly where this was, and I have to follow up with my friend. My first assumption was that it was local because, I'm living in Woke Central at the moment. But just hearing something like that, at first I thought he was putting me on. Because, I mean, we all remember that girl in Norway who became a bit of an internet sensation a few years back because she was kind of crawling around her house with cat ears and pretending that she was a cat. But this seems to have gained traction, frighteningly enough. And to the point that Infidel was making too, it's interesting to kind of think that, at least for the most part, most of our laws in the U.S. and in some regard in other places are based on intent. And so having a situation where you have jurors and jury selection being heavily scrutinized for bias, it's interesting to kind of see that playing out in the context of intent-based legislation, because I kind of think that we're getting to a point now where they're going to start bringing in things like childhood trauma as a way to rewrite the laws to absolve intent to at least to a certain degree in certain cases. I mean, certainly in misdemeanor trials and things of that nature, if they can make the case that someone is coming from a place of being stuck in a trauma state, then suddenly it absolves them of intent. So I'm not sure if I am optimistic about the outcomes that could lead to down the track.
Oh yeah, man. Because we live in the age now of self-identifying as this or that, of uh, loosey goosey definitions of what trauma and violence are. In some cases, many people hold the opinion that silence is violence. Like if you're in a proximity of a conversation or whatever, and you don't say the right thing in their mind, that you are being aggressive or violent in some way. So yeah, the whole, mind space, our lexicon, right? Our lexicon is being constantly rewritten in front of our eyes. This is something that, you and I talk about a lot, something that you talk about on Sole Purpose a lot, because you are the West Lexicon Media. But yeah, the lexicon is just getting absolutely trampled, and just imagine how that's going to translate into courtrooms and stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, the games that are played with words, how they're used against us, how things are rewritten, that's a constant ongoing process. And language is so important because of course it's how we understand and contextualize our environments here in life. We have this necessary we're intertwined with language so much that oftentimes I think it's difficult for us to even see from a meta perspective, what the situation actually is, because so many of our minds are just filled with all these explications that we just pull up at any given moment, and suddenly we can put that onto the experience. And that's of course the troubling nature of propaganda, is that it fills people with all these data bits in their minds, strings and heuristics that they can pull from at any moment to just say, well, okay, now I'll write this onto my experience. And that seems to make logical sense. So it works, but there's of course a manipulative aspect to language, which cannot be understated. And that is actually intimately connected to the clip that we're going to play come the break. So it's interesting that this is getting brought up, but in the context of political action taken by biased judges and things like that, yes, I mean, this could be a very slippery slope, especially if we're going into a summer of potentially more violence, a repeat of what we've seen in the past 2 years, a ramping up of that. Of course, they want to exasperate the tensions. So, of course, we've been seeing also a lot of things like, being much more lax on crime and that kind of stuff. So, I think that really the whole model is just shake the hornet's nest and make sure that people are at each other's throats, and don't give people any rest or repose at all, or confidence in their judiciary system. So rebuilding that confidence is starting with us as the people, and what our values are. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say so. We got to be protective of our legal system, our lexicon. These things are important. Having a language that actually represents something as close to reality as we can. But that seems to be the antithesis of what the mass media cartel wants for us, right? They want us to just destroy. They want us in some like cartoonish Walt Disney Star Wars world where we all feel like we're the rebels and we have to destroy our language and destroy what our forefathers taught us and destroy all our
Right.
historical monuments, right?
They want to give us that simplistic, sophomoric, naive perspective that it's just like you said, I mean, it's take it from any script, it's all this fiction. And hey, people have these sensibilities within them. They want a moral mission. They want to know that they're on the side of good, and they want, because people have this innate sense. There's good, there's evil. They want to fit themselves into a narrow conceptual box with that. And I think what we talk about on this show and the tertiary podcasts and everything is about adding some nuance to that. And it's not to complicate it, but it's just to show, hey, there's more to the story here. You've got to kind of, just because you got that degree, right? I graduated college. I know what good and evil are. I know what this world is all about. It's like, no. You still got to graduate from there, because there's levels to understanding. And only at that higher plane can you kind of see things with a more realistic viewpoint. And it's not in that, Star Wars fantasy lens.
Right. The corporate rebel, the corporate backed rebel. No such thing. No such thing.
I just want to
Okay.
go back to
Yeah,
to
go
that
ahead.
point of. I just want to go back to that point of really like evidence, right? Is courts and such cases, it should be based on evidence, right? It shouldn't be based on you sitting and trying to read minds, and instead you're looking at what evidence is being presented in front of you, and try to remove any bias and just look at those evidence in a rational and unbiased way. But really, our media, as you were saying, that brainwashing that's been happening right now is, I just question if what is the percentage of our society that can just look at hard evidence or facts and interpret those and make a call without putting their bias into and making their bias blinding them to actually look at the facts for what they are.
Mhm.
And I think that's a big problem. And I honestly don't know how we can get out of this. And you can see even judges that interpret the law for what it is, they get attacked, right? They want the SJW justices. They want those that add their own like spin and their own like political interpretation to form the facts in front of them to make it mold in whatever they want that decision to be. And I think that is really dangerous, and that's going to create a lot of unjust.
Yeah, yeah, I tend to agree. And it makes me think, odd man, maybe you have a thought on this. It makes me think the kind of people that Infidel are describing there and the ones that you would hope to have on a jury and such, and you know, that you would hope to find in your friends and neighbors and colleagues and family and everything. What he's talking about there, it requires the ability to look inward and understand, you know, what one's own biases are. I think because if you go, we're just using the jury as like a vignette for this discussion about um, mindsets and biases and worldviews and media influence, but if you have the right kind of people in there, they're able to know. Like I know what my own biases are when I'm talking on a topic, and I try to, you know, do my best to be, you know, upfront with myself at least about maybe what my bias is and how that might be playing in, and you know, try to keep my verbal judo in line, you know, and you know, use proper discussion and analysis to maintain my point, but also be aware that, you know, I have my own bias. So, and I think that sort of self-reflection is something that is being taken away from young people, from society, from people that have the mainstream media beer bong stuck to their third eye 24/7. What do you think?
Absolutely, man. I think of the book Amusing Ourselves to Death by Neil Postman, and it was kind of a take on Brave New World, but it was more of a modern take on how the technology at the time was kind of making us, it was making information useless because we were getting so much information. And this was right before the internet even came along. So I feel like we're just inundated with entertainment and information, and I feel like society has become so shallow. And the average people that you meet, they really don't think very deeply, or at least in casual conversations, they don't seem to. And everyone's so emotional. We're kind of being taught to obey our emotions all the time. And we really need to, like you're saying, self-reflect, find out who we really are, get back to the heart of what it means to be a human and have a soul, and care about others. And you know, with these judges and these different people in governments, like it's not a joke that Soros is pouring millions and millions of dollars into these local elections, and it's not just him; it's other people similar to him as well. And I heard a thing today. It was Steve Jobs' wife. She's pouring tons and tons of money into local school districts, and I'm quite certain that she is not on our side of things. So it's now more important than ever to be very involved and know what's going on locally and in your state. And we really, the job of fighting this and trying to turn this back around, it's a huge job. It's a huge undertaking, and it's going to take a lot of doing if we're going to be successful at it. And I think people need to be those concerned citizens, those statesmen and women, now more than ever, because it's going the other way really fast. And of course, the Great Reset ramped it up, and so we need to try and do everything we can to take it back.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, man. It's gotten really bad at the local level in some places. In some places, you've got, I saw a clip. I don't remember where I saw it, but I saw a clip this week where there was like a local, town hall meeting or whatever, city council meeting, and a woman was reading a passage from a book that they had sent home with her school age daughter, and they said it was too lewd to read. They shut her down. They said, you can't read this in here. And it was just like, well, you just proved her point. She's sitting there reading this to you folks saying, why is my child being told to read this at school when I can't even read it in here without you all turning, blushy colors and telling me to stop?
Yeah, man, it's I was talking the other day. I mentioned this on the show before, but how like having 3 kids now, and my son's like 8 years older or younger than the middle child, and so the teachers have become like big kids. They want to be the kids' friends. It's like they dress in their Star Wars shirts or their Hawaiian shirts, and the guys are painting their fingernails and they have earrings in both ears and stuff like that. Whatever, that's cool. But I mean, there was a time when you did have teachers who dressed a certain way to at least look set apart from the students, and now it's getting hard to tell who's who. And I think that's added to our mentality. Nobody wants to grow up anymore, and you don't have to necessarily be a fuddy-duddy or whatever, but you do need to grow up and be who you are. And these are the people that are teaching the young people who are going into the governments and going into these NGOs and all these different things. And we're living in a really idealistic culture, and people are not really, they're not living in reality for the most part.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
check this out, dude. I'm thinking what you guys are saying as this all going through. So think about where we were like 20 years ago, right? Or even 10 years ago. But let's go 20. And then now think about these kids are in school, because the most disturbing thing I heard all you guys talking about is that they're placating children that identify as felines and providing them with litter boxes. I mean, way to raise some people that are just absolutely detached from reality, instead of telling them, nah, you can go use the restroom like a human being, because that's what you are. You're placating them in their fantasy. And imagine where society's going to be in 20 years when these people that are so detached from logic and reality are like running the show and behind the helm.
Yeah. Yeah, man. How does that work? Where does that person go get a job? That's what I want to know. Is that the person? Ruckus is shaking his head. Is that the person that goes and works at freaking Arby's, dude?
Where does that person go get a job? They don't.
When
That's
they grow up. Okay, I got you.
the point. Yeah, they're just we're all headed for the Matrix. They're just going to be living in their pods, or what was that movie? Idiocracy. Go away, I'm baiting, right? They're just going to live in their little self thing. It's all self-centered anyways. It's what it's all about. That's the society that we're living in and the generations that are being raised. It's like everything's emotion based. It's all about me, me, me. It's all steeped in pride, my way or the highway, so people are so set in their biases. So no wonder, I mean, that's a great concern, Infidel bringing all, and everyone talking about the biases in the juries. Could you imagine, like, during the how many, or well, okay, before let's go back a little bit. I wonder how many people were actually more, what ratio of people were convicted or looked down upon to a greater extent from the jury selection because they knew that the person happened to be, say, a Trump supporter or something silly like that. I'm surprised in this story with the guy who's doing the thing with the milkshakes and on his computer. I'm surprised they didn't say, oh, and by the way, he was a prolific anti-vaxxer and he listened to Alex Jones and he had a Bible on his coffee table. Yeah, that. I'm surprised they didn't pepper all this random crap in there with that, because that's what they usually do. You guys, I think Mindspace and Hesher, you were talking about looking within, but we have to think about without or outward, everybody and everything. The reality is that, this is more than just the single person, and we all need to, think of the greater, I hate to say it, but community. But yeah, as a society and as a human race and everything, we need to really kind of reach out to everybody and come together to an agreement that is against what the puppet masters or the elites want us to be, which is apparently just slobbering things, not thinking for ourselves, incapable of having jobs, robots doing everything for us, and we just live in these little pods, getting like this protein milkshake thing, substitute Soylent milkshake that may or may not have been messed with by somebody, working at Arby's.
Oh man, could you imagine what happens at the Soylent factory and all the soy factories? It's like, you've got these types of people. This character here at an Arby's, right? That's like, oh, he's doing this at a local Arby's. And by the way, if you milkshakes are probably one of the hardest drinks to detect something off in because they're so thick. There is so much sugar and so much flavor in there. I would not be surprised if no one was any the wiser in that situation. So, ew, gross, horrific. But think about the factories, man. Like we would never know, most likely, if something weird was going on in factories. In the soy boy factory. What do you think, Ruckus?
I remember this one story from a long time ago that really ruined one particular food item for me that I enjoyed, and I still try to eat one every now and then, but every time I do, I can't get this out of my head. That's the thing with these stories. They ruin this stuff for you. It was a Boston cream donut, and I heard that I think it was at a Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. I don't mean to say, what company it was specifically, but yeah, there was a guy who did the you-know-what inside the cream filling for the Boston cream donuts, and nobody was the wiser, and I'm just like...
Yeah. Oh, boy. Well,
Isn't this why they call it Boston cream?
Yeah.
So I have a question to wondering. Well, so who cleans those litter boxes?
That's a really good question, man. I would imagine it's probably some teaching assistant who's happy to do it because they're rationalizing it to themselves as a way to take care of the needs of this oppressed and marginalized minority in the student body. I've known some of these people in the school system, and it's amazing. They can rationalize almost anything. They're so ideologically possessed for the most part.
Unreal. Absolutely unreal. Oh man, I feel so sorry for teachers and students, the ones that aren't in this. You know what I mean? Like it's so like they want us to think that the kid that wants to be identified as a feline and should have adult and institutionalized support in this desire are the ones that are marginalized. What about the kid that sits behind them that just, wants to play with I'm too old. I don't know. GI Joes, whatever, their iPhone, whatever. You know what I mean? Just the kid that's not raised in pure garbage, toxic hell land by toxic people with, a 21st century woke lexicon. Like, what about those kids? Are those ones being marginalized now to make room for?
They are now the oppressor.
They're the oppressor. Okay, right.
You see,
So they
this
deserve
is how this whole game works.
Gotcha. So they deserve any unspecial treatment that they get.
Course.
Right?
Of course, they deserve the most unspecialist treatment, right? because somehow by their normal activity they're causing harm to the sensitivity of the other students. I mean, this is really, we're already here. We're already in the inversion state. The attack is on anything decent, anything traditional, anything that would be a normative value system in our society, and the hostility out there is fever pitch for that. And of course, yes, it's ideological possession. And I mean, we got to think of who are the people who make it into the position, let's say, of working at a public school. These people have been ground through the university system. They've been pipelined one end to the other and spat out with all the garbage that they've been downloaded with. And that's how they even maintain those positions. So that these people are not the most developed and capable amongst us. They're not the geniuses of society here. Okay. If you want to look to the people who are making a real contribution, that would be the people in the alternative media. Those are from my perspective and from my own experience, I could say the real instructors, the real teachers in our society are independent voices. And that's a very important thing because they're trying to shut all that down. where that's really what is teaching people. That's what's helping people to think more properly, to correct all the erroneous thinking that it has just been propagandized to people. So there's absolutely that schism taking place. I mean, who wants to be a part of this? I mean, I don't know if you are aware of this, if you knew it, but there's literally a product called Soylent, which is sold at my local grocery store here. Were you aware that they have actually made this product and they've shipped it out and
I've seen it.
on
Yeah.
the shelves? Okay, yeah. So I mean, it's like, is this a satanic joke or something?
What is it?
Pardon?
What is it? What is
Who
that
knows?
product? I never heard about it.
Someone on
Yeah.
this call knows, I bet.
It's soy-based or vegan-based products. I forget exactly what it is. There's probably a whole line of stuff, but yeah, they call themselves Soylent. I want to say we had talked about this or at some point on the Boiler Room a long time ago.
Yeah, we did. I'm on their website right now. Soylent, Soylent. Wondering, Wolf, what's the spelling on Soylent Green? Is that Soylent?
As far as I recall, it's Soylent, Soylent Green. Yeah.
Okay, I get confused because there's a metal band called Soylent Green, and the I and the
That's
Y
right.
are swapped between the movie and
Yep.
the metal band. But I think you're right. I think the metal band is Soylent because they are not soy boys. But yeah, this let's see what's in this product. Let me make sure I'm on the multi-view there. They want to sell me some of this stuff. They've got a complete meal in a bottle, complete protein, complete energy. Let me see if I can click through to some ingredients here. I don't even know if it's going to be necessary because we know it's soy slop. It's soy-based soy slop. So Infidel, it's one step up from eating the bugs, basically, I would say. Eating the bugs might actually even be more healthy for you than eating the soy slop.
It sounded like some kind of solvent. I would like to see Billy Mays actually advertising that.
Yes, maybe it's like Coca-Cola and you can just pour it on your engine block to clean it. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
Chopper,
wait, there's more. There's more.
Oh, wait, there's more. If you buy right now in the next 5 minutes, you get 2 cases of Soylent.
Didn't he get busted for cocaine? I think he did.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, that I was
He
not
was
surprised.
in an airport, maybe.
Is it something like that? Yeah, okay. That sounds right.
Well, he's got a lot of energy. Is he still around?
He got it somewhere.
passed
Or did
away,
he
didn't he?
pass? I think he passed. Did he pass away too, or am I wrong about
He
that?
did. He did pass away. I did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, a few years back.
Yeah.
I-
No
I-
more.
No more.
OxyClean commercials.
No, that's right. He was the OxyClean guy. That was quite the campaign, man.
Just
It
reminds
made
me
it-
was Chipotle Way in the South Park episode when he was advertising it.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, good stuff. All right. Well, let's see here. Let's hit one more topic and we'll take a break here. We'll pivot a little bit. Did anyone else want to throw in any final thoughts on the icebreaker? I will throw in a final thought before I turn it over to everybody on the icebreaker. Sometimes we look at the icebreakers and we're like, I don't know, that's kind of like creepy and gross and like I don't, maybe there's an Arby's lover out there and we just ruined Arby's for them for life, but we do these things and we've been doing them for years because we've been trying to figure out why this is being jammed into our cultural third eye, all this kind of stuff by the media. And one of the things that we've come up with is to normalize it, to normalize absolute degeneracy, to get the public tenderized to this kind of stuff. Like we covered the whole woke thing and the trans thing and all these things. We've been doing it for years, like way before they were at a boiling point that they are now. And this is why, because we see it coming, we see it being normalized, and then we see it being institutionalized. So we looked at it as an anomaly 5-10 years ago, maybe. And then 5 years later, it's like, oh boy, this is a real thing now. And now here we are, it's institutionalized, and schools are putting litter boxes in the classroom. So open mic for before we pivot.
Yeah, just kind of playing off of what you were just saying there, Hesher. One thought that's been in my mind throughout the entire discussion is what was the mechanism that the woke SJW ideological left used to actually get this institutionalization of this insanity into the institutions and into the functions of society. It was this concept of lived experience, right? Because if someone just says, oh, well, that's my lived experience is that I'm a feline. My lived experience is that I'm a puppy, whatever it is, whatever the case may be. Then if you are to be a good and virtuous person, then you have to absolve them of, well, insanity, but you also have to remove your own internal biases and not judge that person's lived experience. You don't know what it feels like to be a cat. And so, yeah, it ends up playing into this hyper emotionalism and this complete detachment from objective reality. And yeah, I've often think that one of the costs of living in such a decadent society is that you get completely detached from the objective reality that human beings evolved in. You know, I mean, this is really only the sort of thing, and I mean, you know, the kids in school who demand litter boxes, that's something that can only exist in a decadent, I hate to say it, privileged first world society. You cannot get away with that in a state of nature, and you cannot get away with that in a society that is struggling to maintain some basic, you know, quality of life. So it just seems that the more decadent we get, the softer we get, the more we hasten the decline, unfortunately. But it doesn't help that you have so many ideologues running their agenda, trying to normalize the insanity, exactly as you're saying.
Right, right, and it
You
gets out
nailed
of
it, man.
control. It snowballs, right, Infidel? It totally snowballs, and now we've got schools, lining litter boxes.
Yeah, absolutely, and you nailed it, Wandering Wolf. This is a decline of any civilization starts when this decadent lifestyle just takes over, and people start getting completely detached from reality, and this is usually the start of the decline. And sadly, we are there, and people, I was having that discussion with Mindspace Art and Boiler Room Chat the other day. Is we live in such a decadent society right now, and people still believe that we're in the top, but actually we're not. We're living in an illusion that we are in the top, but what we've been living in is a complete devolution, and really decline of what created or what got us in the top. We're actually in the complete opposite curve right now, of what got us where we are, and it's just a matter of time till we will find out that, hey, we're actually not on the top anymore, and we're going to face the reality that just we're actually start declining, and all this is going to go away because you cannot sustain it.
Right, right. It's like that one show intro I did where I said we're live from Caligula's barge today. We may be the Romans, but we certainly aren't the Caesarian Romans, are we? We're looking at the age of Nero here, I guess.
The decadence won't last. Them trying to upkeep those litter boxes is going to look pretty funny when there's no food on the shelves at the grocery store.
Oh no, just wait for the litter shortage. Oh my, what will the children do when there is a shortage of litter, you guys? It's going to be worse than the baby formula, great baby formula shortage of 2022.
Isn't Ukraine or Russia or one of these countries out there? Russia's probably the biggest exporter of cat litter, and how dare him?
I was going to say, don't we import this? So
yeah, we used
just
to
wait for it. Yeah.
Yeah, they probably had plenty of litter down at the southern border, though, odd man, don't you think?
Oh, I'm sure. I tweeted this out the other day, but like it just occurred to me that we're having all this insanity and everyone's being pushed to kind of be idealistic, and we have this unworkable mentality. No one wants to work with the other one, and no one's reasonable anymore. And it's just like everyone's living in their own little fantasy. And this all is happening right about the time that the technology is kicking up, and people like Elon Musk and people like that say, there's not going to be any jobs, so we're going to have a UBI because there's not going to be anything for anyone to do. So it's like all this. It's like I feel like we're being conditioned to be woke to the point of just absolute uselessness, and people are not able. So many people are not able to really like be useful in society. Like I'm sure companies are suffering from this, because I know like local places here they still can't get people to work. And I'm saying like the inefficiency, those kinds of things. It's just right in time for the technology to take over, and then we'll all be at home with UBIs. And a lot of people have these useless degrees, in critical race theory and gender study and different things like that, and that just will make them even more angry. So it's like I don't know. It's the timing of a lot of these things are suspicious to me.
That's a really good point there, don't you think, Mindspace? Because this all what we're discussing here, this nudges directly into Great Resets, Green New Agenda, Green New Deal, whatever, transhumanism, pandemic industrial complex, a society that is keen to be locked down because they don't have anywhere to go anyways. Gas is going to be $10 a gallon. School's going to be shut down next time we have a pandemic or a scamdemic of some sort. The WHO may actually supersede our own constitution, your own constitution, if you're outside the United States. How does that feel? That's pretty freaking scary. That organization is funded by Bill Gates, by Gavi, and by the CCP. And the guy that heads it is a terrorist, by many people's estimation. So we got that going for us. So this all leads us right into that, don't you think, Mindspace?
The beatings will continue until morale improves.
Yes.
I mean, in a way, there's some truth to that, right? I mean, here we have this giant, government corporate apparatus, along with these NGOs, that is a coalition of abuse that is has all of us in the targeting laser sights. And they are just going to keep on ratcheting this up. Temperature's just going to keep on cranking up, up, up. So at this point, everything is a conscious choice. I mean, that's why I was trying to bring it back to the individual level, because I mean, yes, we do need to operate out here in the world, but people need to get their mind right. They need to get their heart right and their soul right, because that's the only way that you can really participate and make a good effect in this world. And it has to do with turning down the amount of solipsism, right? I mean, it's like everybody out in society, everybody thinks they're in their own little swim lane. I'm on my track. I've got some, I got my career or something. It's total bullshit. It's people living in these fantasies thinking that there's some glorious future that's going to occur. Meanwhile, we're all just being ground up, into hamburger here. So, but I will say to what Oddman said that, those critical race theory and the gender studies people, they do need an occupation. So that's why they had to create the whole litter box fiasco, because that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be cleaning that up. That's pretty much all they'll be good for at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, they'll be cleaning that up and liking it, right? Because it's the rebellious and moral thing to do.
Is that maybe an easy solution for that? Is like, cool, here you can have a litter box. Yeah, you got to clean it. You pack it in, pack it out, take it with you.
Good question. That might solve the problem.
That's too much responsibility, man.
Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm sorry for being
you're
so
gonna clean
violent.
you're gonna clean your own litter box now.
No.
There is self-cleaning litter boxes now.
That's right. We're trying to raise good little socialists here. So yeah, and technocrats. So the socialist technocrat, socialist. Thank you. The socialist technocrat child that has the litter box. I think you're right, Infidel. They're going to get the automated robotic litter box.
But to the point though that you guys were talking about, actually, what COVID did, it triggered so many people to think now they actually saw it in action that I can just sit on my ass and someone else can take care of me, and I don't need to do anything. And that's exactly what that 2 years of conditioning of COVID did to our society. That's why you cannot find people to work anymore. Because like, why do I need to work? Someone else is going to take care of me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a mind shift that happened during that pandemic.
Yeah, I agree. Ruckus, what do you think about that?
You're not going to believe this. I didn't see this coming, but I guess this soon. On my local news today, they said that New Mexican residents are going to start to receive money, stimulus type money again, like we used to, right? And it's not for the pandemic. It's for just, I guess it's for, because we're just all in a financial hard time or some bullshit. I forget the exact reason. They're literally just going to start giving people money. I'm like, what the F, dude? No joke.
Wow. And any word on like who qualifies for that? Is it for everybody, or are they parsing it out to certain groups?
I was looking at it, and I guess you don't have to do anything. It's the same kind of deal like the other stuff, right? Where it's just gonna like go directly into your bank account or whatever. But I think for some reason it looks to me like people who didn't not file their income taxes gets more money somehow.
Okay. That sounds a little dubious. I'm a little concerned about this one. Yeah.
I think it's called economic recovery is what it's part of.
Economic recovery. That's a larf. That's a larf right now, right? They just printed what, like $4 trillion over the last couple of years here, and they want to talk about economic recovery. Are we really going to go there? Are we going to blame it on Putin? Are we recovering from the economic disaster that is the man in Russia? Or I don't know. It all sounds very UBI-ish to me. This whole thing, who would have thunk that peeing in the milkshake would lead to an hour conversation that is about technocracy, society, mental health, and UBI? Because I feel like those are kind of some of the underlying themes here. What do you guys think?
I would like to start by psychological recovery before economic recovery.
Right? We need a baseline. We need to. That's exactly.
I think economy is gonna fix itself once we psychologically fix ourselves.
There you go. It's like Twitter. Twitter would fix itself if they just removed all the fake accounts and removed all the shadow bans and all this stuff. If someone's maybe they can use an AI or a text scanner or something like that to look for things that are actually illegal to say in public, right? Or whatever. But this whole like having it be, oh, we can't have ideas. Like if anyone's seen the recent Project Veritas exposés, once again, I didn't really mean to pivot into Twitter right now, but it fits in. It's just like we've been saying this for years in the boiler room. Most of the accounts on Twitter are fake. Somewhere between 40 and 60% or more are fake. And they have proved that now. They've proved that. Biden has 22 million followers, and an independent company just did some research on the followers on that account and others. I believe they're doing that because Elon's thinking about buying it, and he wants to know what he's actually buying. And sure enough, not only did they verify that almost half of Biden's followers are fake or bot accounts or dead accounts, but on top of that, Veritas comes in with the coup de grace once again and catches one of their employees admitting to all this stuff. And it's like, of course. But anyway, back to your comment there, Infidel. We could baseline that too, and then let the see what the public conversation actually is. They must be so frightened of a non manipulated public forum. They must just be terrified of that because their stock has gone down to like $30 a share, which is orders of magnitude less. Like it's not even enough they're profitable. They don't care that they're not profitable. They're more concerned with the ideology that, not just their ideology, the ideology that they are forcing on the users of the platform, which, totally skews everybody's view of reality. Believe it or not, you would hope that something like Twitter wouldn't be able to do that to a society, but it has.
It has, and it's a continuation to where we are right now in this nation. Is we have ideologues in government, we have ideologues in those tech companies, and it just complete manipulation to push this ideology, and you can see it. You can see it in every aspect of decision that's being taken right now in the government. You see it in our foreign policy about the just ideologues and how they want to just push whatever narrative they have because of their ideology of certain states are just enemies. You see it in those like tech companies of how they pushing these ideologies, and sadly this is a state we're in, and this didn't happen between a night and a day. This happened through years and decades of education that brought that generation to where it is right now. And that's why I said we need psychological recovery, because you need to start by deprogramming these people. If really we want to pivot back and get people to think and reflect on themselves, you need to start by deprogramming and taking a step back. And I'm like realizing the fact that, holy shit, I was living in this bubble and now I can break free, and being an immigrant is really an experience that, I can speak about when you come from a different society, and once you leave that society and you take a decision that you want to break free from the bubble you grew up in and actually see things for what they are, it makes it completely. It's not an easy decision, and it is not easy decision to say, I've been programmed my entire life to think in one way or the other, and I'm going to take a conscious decision that for me to be someone with integrity, or someone that is actually truly awake person, not with the fake wokeness, but actually an awake person. It is not an easy decision to break away from this, and it is very hard, but it's something that I went through myself personally when I came here, and it takes effort, and not many people just do that. Many people come here and still choose to live in whatever bubbles they are, grew up in, and sadly here you have like this entire nation that's living in a bubble, and they cannot break free from that. But you need to be able to see it for what it is, and you need to be able to break free in order to really continue your journey of self-growth. And I don't know how many people actually wake up every day and say, what is my journey of self-growth? How I want to be as a human being, where I want to be. Not from just like feeling good about myself, but actually how can I move to the next step of my self-growth, which usually comes with pain, which is the pain of realizing where your downfalls are, where your shortcomings are, and where have you gone wrong, so that you can move to the next step. And it just, till we get into this mindset and actually help people, really you need to start with your younger generation. This is a fight right now. Our sons, our daughters, those where our focus needs to be. Sadly, those people that have been into that generation, I think it's just so hard for them to move into that direction. So our fight should be into those new generation, and this is where we can take it back to really preserve the mind of these people or this generation, and to gets them to understand what it is to be a human being and what it is to understand how to grow up as a person, and the pain that comes with that.
Yeah, yeah, there you go, Infidel. All right, lightning round. I'm going to start with Wandering Wolf here. We'll go to break after a quick lightning round. But Wandering Wolf, username 1000 wants to know, where's the evidence for a litter box in a school? You can actually, thanks username 1000 for listening, and thanks for the comment. You can actually just type into your search browser litter box in school, and you'll come up with a plethora of links. And some of them, I will say up front, will be fact checkers telling you that it's not happening. But Wandering Wolf, over to you. Maybe they missed the origin of that story for this particular episode.
Yeah, that's a perfectly fair and legitimate question. I have to be honest that I don't want to risk breaking my NDA because the conversation did happen in the context of a project that I'm working on. But I am involved with an organization, and there's a gentleman who brought the story to me as evidence, citing some of the claims that he was making in a recent pitch. So I do know that the information is out there. It is easy enough to find. I cannot break my NDA, so that's about all I can say.
There you go. Yeah, we don't want to name or anything. Just wanted to let people know it was a personal anecdote. So by the time it hit your ears, it's a third person hearsay. But um, yeah, just look it up, and decide for yourself. You'll find all kinds of I got a whole. I'm scrolling through a page here. I got more results after a full page of results. We've covered it in this in the show before, so it's a thing. We're trying to figure it out ourselves. There, username 1000. It seems unbelievable. It's not the kind of thing you want to just blurt out to the person sitting next to you on the bus or at the dinner table or whatever, because as soon as someone Googles it, they're going to get a bunch of fact checks, they're going to get a bunch of contradiction and all that stuff. But there you go, we got another example of it tonight, so keep an eye out for it. Infidel, you got anything else you want to throw out there before we go to break real quick here?
No, I think I'm good. I'm looking forward to see the video you're about to show.
Yeah, that's right. How about you, Chopper? We've covered a bit of ground here. Anything you want to throw out there before we go to break?
No, I'm good. It's cool.
All right, Ruckus. All right, Ruckus is ready for break. Man.
I'm cool, man. It's
All
been
right.
great talking with you guys so far.
All right, Man's ready for the break. Mindspace Art, over to you. Take us into break here, man.
You're not all spent already, are you? Damn it. We got more to go here, but yes, I just wanted to comment there on what Infidel said, because it's true that there is a struggle that you have to go through in order to see things more clearly, and that is a road of a lot of heartache. And you got to be diligent in your efforts, but on the other side of it, you got more self-respect than you could ever have just being part of the in crowd, because that's no place to be at all, and nobody in the crowd is really an individual. If your identity is merely linked to how people perceive you, and it's not something indwelt and hard won that's from your heart essence, then it's really not worth anything. And that's not a foundation to build a life on. You can't carry that through your hopes and struggles and dreams into the future. So that's a bunch of nonsense. But anyway, so yeah, this clip here is something that I put together as another of the videos in the Shilling for Sanity lineup that we've had of clips and videos. We're still shilling out here, folks, so please make sure to drop a donation in there if you can for us, because we're really fighting over here in this corner, and I try to bring as much of my own heart and soul into each of these projects as I can, and just to demonstrate to the audience what we're capable of. And I think that we've got more and more power that's coming through in all of our content, and we want to build that confidence and trust in our listenership, because we want to take this torch further, so that, because it's not just for us, it's about a wider care for everybody, for our whole country, for our people struggling. And it's really about love when you get down to it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It's a clip by Alan Watt, if you guys know him. He's sort of a prominent, truth speaking voice out there. He did pass away, I believe last year or perhaps the year before that. But he had a lot of very wise things to say. And so this, was his commentary, and he talks about language and how we think. So I think it's a very relevant clip for the discussions that we've had here today.
Wow. Oh boy. It's almost like we planned that, isn't it, Mindspace? That fits right in. And we didn't even talk about this before the show. Wonderful. Very much looking forward to it. And thank you for the shout out for our Shilling for Sanity spring donation drive here at alternatecurrentradio.com. We are working our tails off to bring you the best website we can, the best live streams we can, the best podcasts we can, and the widest variety of thinkers and analysts and journalists that we can. So I hope everybody enjoys it. I want to thank Conrad over on Rockfin. Thank you, my brother, for the tip over there on Rockfin, and anyone else who has chipped into the swear jar, the crypto wallet, bought some merch, whatever, while we've been doing this this donation drive to get us to the end of the year so that we can complete our business relaunch. We really, really appreciate it. And we're going to keep the Shilling for Sanity spring donation drive going until we make our goals. So if you've been thinking about kicking in, do it. If you're able to, if you're not able to, that's no problem. Just enjoy the shows. Please share them around. And we're going to go to a quick break over here, and we're going to premiere this new video right here. So gang in the green room, this will be a 5-minute video followed by a song, and then we'll regroup. All right. So smoke them if you got them. Enjoy the video. Everybody, you're listening to The Boiler Room, and it is one of our missions in life to take the narrative away from the toxic Holocaust. Shout out to Toxic Holocaust, the band. The toxic Holocaust that is the mainstream media. They need to get out of the way because we are taking over.
As far as the awakening process goes, and if you can get past all the media bombardment and all the propaganda and all the sort of new age sort of stuff, you're still left with this language, which you use to think and you use to express yourself. Is that something that you somehow have to be able to go beyond to truly wake up?
You can go beyond it when you do know, and if you're lucky enough to have it happen naturally from birth onwards, where you can also think in pictures and sounds and so on. You have many other languages which we're taught not to even use. In fact, we're taught to ignore. Even intuition we're taught to ignore now and only go by what the experts give us as facts. Everything really is a language on its own, and when it all works together, you can certainly overcome the spoken word. The spoken word is the first con game, and that's why the Masons always talk in their lectures about how God spoke the world into existence. He meant all reality, the spoken word. And the same thing with Adam, giving names to all the animals and so on. I've said this often, if you had a child and he asks what a tree is, when he first sees a tree, what is that? And you say a tree, he'll say tree, and that's the last time he'll ever think about it. The best answer is to say, what do you think it is? And simply listen to a ramble, he'll ramble on. But that's the natural way to do something. Yeah, everything is already created for us to follow. And that's the trap that we're into. Language, just like a computer, and they knew this many years ago, that we are basically computers in an extent in the conscious world. And the programmer who knows the language and the logic of that computer will know what the answer to a problem is before it's fed into that computer. We are the same. And that's how they use propaganda on the public today. We're fed streams of information, we process it in the way it's presented to us, and we will come out with the expected answer, which the guys at the top knew would have to arrive at. So that is the way that it works, plain and simple.
So, I mean, when you've had a lifetime of thinking and speaking or communicating using language, how do you break that? How can you go beyond it?
I think really the best way is to understand really what we're saying. we don't really. It's so full of I hate to even use the word Masonic, because Masonic is a later organization of a much earlier organization that understood the creation of languages down through the ages. And you'll find every culture, too, is given a specific type of language for the purpose of that culture. I've had people from major think tanks who work for this New World Order who've discussed people like the Chinese and how their language was formed and for what kind of personality it's formed for their purpose. They're a mass man type of people who are very obedient to the system. Individuality is frowned upon, and they're given a specific language which reinforces that, all of that. The English language was created to get a practical, working, and war-based people on the go. Old English, prior to Bacon and Dee and others, really was a form of Germanic, Saxon type of language. If you look at the writings of Chaucer, the real writings, not the updated ones, many updated versions, look at the original ones. Most people wouldn't even understand it today because it's closer to German than any other tongue. And in the 1500s, with Shakespeare and the King James Bible at the same time for Britain, they introduced thousands upon thousands of new words which became the English language, and they were taught at the universities to make sure that they'd go out into the populace and spread it. All the ministers were taught it and so on, and teachers. So that's how the language was done. And at the same time, they were upgrading the German language in a similar way through Luther, and they created Higher German from his rendition of the Bible. So they did this across Europe at the same time. Even France had changes. The French in Quebec is more 1500s based language, and it's different from the updated later French from France. So this was a major organized effort by those who already run the ancient world, or at least Europe, to change them and create a society for their functions for each one of them.
Okay. Oh, well, thanks for that, Alan. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, thank you very much. Take care now.
Yeah, it's a deep subject, and it's very extensive. And yeah, I could certainly ramble on for a long time on language, and even teach the inner meanings of language as well. But I don't really have time now at the stage we're at in this world at the moment. And that's why I'm on the air, trying to get it at least out to people and get them indignant about the basic things, the very basic things which are happening to them today.
Coming up next, more thought crimes from the Social Rejects Club on the Boiler Room here on Alternate Current Radio.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Boiler Room. We're heading into the second segment of the show here. It is May the 19th. I want to thank everybody for joining us for this live broadcast here on Rockfin, on YouTube, on Spreaker, on alternatecurrentradio.com. That's our website. Please get over there and check it out. If you missed last week's Sunday Wire, go back. Definitely give that one a listen. It was a really good episode. If you missed the most recent Daily Ruckus or 5, go back and listen to those. And make sure you're subscribed to all the shows over at Alternate Current Radio. Oddcast, we premiered the most recent episode of the Oddcast last night. Every weeknight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, we are premiering a new show from each of the podcasts over here at Alternate Current Radio. Thursday night, of course, being the exception because we're working on getting into the Boiler Room. But yeah, dude, come hang out with us. We've got a Discord. You can join us in the Discord. That's a chat application to understate its usability, functionality, and resources. We have the Mystical American Patriot Society over here. Sumo and Smokestack's Worldview Repair and Support Service. You don't want to miss that. Sole purpose, of course, aimed at those inquisitive minds who are searching for fellow travelers in the midst of this digital renaissance here. Let's see. We also, on our Spreaker channel, we have we're curating the UK Column Radio, Global Research. Primal Edge is still hanging out over there in the curation zone. What's up to them? And yeah, come check us out. We're on the web. You can't miss it. alternatecurrentradio.com. Type it in. That's where you'll find us. And yes, the great video there by Mindspace Art. Love Alan Watt. That was an excellent edit. Thank you for throwing that one into the Shillin' for Sanity donation drive, the 2022 drive there, Mindspace. That fit perfectly into the first segment of the show. If anyone's just joining us and you missed the first segment, it'll be up as soon as we wrap. Same with any Boiler Room from here on out. If the podcast is slow coming out, if you're an iTunes listener, Stitcher, Spreaker, whatever, just know that you can always go to alternatecurrentradio.com and the episode will be up almost immediately after the show in live streaming video format. And I'm also working on making sure I have the raw audio format up there for you as well. So if you missed last week's episode in your iTunes or whatever, just know it's exclusive at alternatecurrentradio.com immediately after the show almost. And we'll hit the podcast stream as we're able to get there. But let me hand it over to Mindspace Art real quick. Loved the video, man. Another fabulous edit. And we'll have that up on the website also broken out as its own experience for people, right?
Yes, hopefully we can get that one uploaded just shortly, probably tonight or tomorrow, because I think it's really worth it to view these visual auditory experiences in the full, HD quality and just the video file sourced from itself, because it seemed like the stream was struggling there a little bit on some parts of it, which I understand because I had a lot packed in there. But I thought it was a really poignant clip from Alan, and just everything that he had to say, in his time here. He was really somebody who was very salient in his expositions. And so, something like that, it's a compact form of wisdom that can be shared around. And I really, entreat the listeners that, hey, if somebody who likes music videos, they don't even have to really care about politics or, the highest form of all this stuff. But I think that it could be a spark of intrigue for anybody. That's how I try to craft it, so that it could have a sort of wider appeal. So hopefully, as more of these get rolled out, we could see, some more eyes on it from people who we might not typically think would even like this kind of content.
Yeah, absolutely. It's evergreen. It's easy to watch and enjoy. It's got great music and intriguing and thought-provoking words every time you throw one of those out there. And you always pick great clips from people. So yeah, thank you for doing that. We'll look forward to the next one. We've got a few in the magazine, if you will. So we're going to keep putting them out, everybody. So I've got a few in the magazine. He's got a few in the magazine and a few in the tube. So the video content is going to keep coming. So again, if you're an iTunes listener, a Spotify listener, or whatever, be sure and start frequenting the website, because that's where the mother load is. It used to be the mother load was at Spreaker. We're decoupling and decentralizing from particular apps and focusing on our website and spreading our stuff across as many apps as possible so that you folks can find it anywhere, most anywhere, at least as many places as we can get it. And then it's never in danger. Another tip there, sorry for all the housekeeping here, but this is a good place to do it. Another tip there, the Fountain app. If you are a listener, a podcast listener, you can listen not only on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, the whole list. There's like 17 platforms it goes out to, I think. But you can also grab it on Fountain. And Fountain is one of those ones that is in the podcasting 2.0 eco structure. So that is uncancelable. So if we ever have a cancellation issue or anything like that from any of our platforms, I don't know why that would happen. I believe we're pretty well grounded people, pretty based people, pretty caring people. I don't see why anyone would thought crime us off of a platform. Wink, wink. But anyways, we're out there and we're going to make sure that we are uncancelable. So that's a big part of our spring donation drive. I'll quit yammering about it now, and we'll get back into some stuff here. Wandering Wolf, welcome back to the show, man. Great to have you.
Great to be back. I'm excited for the second half and to see what comes next. It's been a great discussion so far.
Yeah. You don't have to tell me, but just think about it. If you have anything burning a hole in your pocket, I'd be curious to hear what stuck out for you in the media this week, if anything. If not, I have a long list of just bananas stuff that we're never going to make it through. But yeah, we'll get into it here. Let's welcome Chopper back. Chopper, welcome back to the show.
Right on. Glad I'm here. Glad to be part of this wonderful conversation.
Yeah, man. Oh, I like the background there. You're chilling. You're in chill mode here. We're on the beach now.
Yeah, we're getting luxurious in my tropical wonderland.
All right. Watch out, everybody. That's Chopper. All right, Ruckus, welcome back to the show.
I noticed Chopper's background is missing something. They must be off camera this time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if you pull out the wider lens, you'll see the bikinis, but this is a family show, right?
Right. Well, I'm worried about his tattoos. That might get us canceled because of the culture that we're living in.
Yeah, really. Oh my gosh.
Are those 3D printed, Chopper? I'm scared.
Are those registered 6-shooters, my friend?
It's just black ink, dude. On my skin.
All right. Excellent. Okay, well, again, thanks to Infidel Pharaoh and Odd Man Out for joining us. I think those guys both dove off to do the family thing, and yeah, it's getting late. Thanks, guys, for being here, and we will look forward to having you guys back on the show soon. Don't forget, Infidel does a music mixtape over here every other Saturday, Infidel's Magic Carpet Ride, and we have a whole day of music mixtapes for you at alternatecurrentradio.com. Via our Mixcloud account, yet one of our other. I used to be like, oh, we just got to keep ourselves in one place. It'd be so nice if everybody just goes to one place. Well, the website is the place. Just check us out over there. All right. Well, yeah, same for you, Chopper. Let me know if you got anything burning a hole in your pocket at some point during the conversation. Otherwise, just buckle up. All right. Let's see. Okay, so I'll start us off. I will start us off. The Ministry of Truth, the karaoke clown, Nina Jankowicz. Oh boy, we went off on that one. We were not liking the vibe in the boiler room. We were not liking the vibe of the Disinformation Governance Board. Rand Paul wasn't digging the vibe either, apparently. Let's see what Rand had to say about it. Ooh, I should probably unmute that though. Boom. No, I don't want to pay for YouTube. Get that ad out of there. Here we go.
See how far that they've come from Kennedy's Democrat Party. This is not your grandfather's Democrat Party anymore. So much for the marketplace of ideas. They have decided that they're going to determine what disinformation is. But my point to Mayorkas was this. We had a $32 million Mueller investigation to see if there was collusion between Russia and Trump. There wasn't any. And yet the Steele dossier, upon which they based this all on, which was given to Steele by Russians, it was Russian disinformation. If they can't admit that that's disinformation, it was propagated by CNN for years and years. If they can't admit that, how could they possibly do the job of policing disinformation? Now, I don't think it's a job that you could possibly do. So even if you could, and they admitted that it was disinformation, I'd be against policing CNN. People can turn the channel when they see that CNN doesn't care about the truth. But I would not police CNN. I'm against policing any news organization. The public can figure this out.
Yeah, and they are turning the channel because no one's watching. Their ratings are atrocious. Anthony Fauci, I don't know if you saw this. He was invited to lecture graduates about the dangers of untruths at the University of Michigan this weekend. Listen to what he said.
As you graduate and take the place in the wider world that will be yours to shape. Do not shrug your shoulders and accept the normalization of untruths. Because if you do, lies become dominant and reality is distorted.
Wouldn't you just be so jubilant, tossing your little cap up in the air after listening to that guy, Senator?
Well, but here's the interesting thing. It's the same argument as the disinformation board. We have to decide what is true and what is not true. So, for example, I think that Dr. Fauci has promulgated untruth. He has normalized untruth. Number one, he has said that COVID treats every age the same, and the treatment should be the same whether you're 10 years old or 80-year-old. Everybody should get vaccinated 14 times. He's also said that masks work everywhere, and they don't really work in public. But he's also
All right. A little bit of mainstream news for you there. So Rand Paul clearly was not digging the idea. We actually had a number of based politicians, I guess, to some extent. So I saw that probably right after we did that last episode where we were talking about that. And here we are. I guess this broke. Was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday. We've got this dreaded WAPO article here that came out. Monitor up there, and it's called "How the Biden Administration Let Right-Wing Attacks Derail Its Disinformation Efforts." A pause on the Department of Homeland Security's newly created board comes after its head, Nina Jankowicz, aka for henceforth to be known as the karaoke clown, was the victim of coordinated online attacks as the administration struggled to respond. Okay, and that's written by Taylor Lorenz, by the way, who is famous now for going to political opponents' houses, doxing them, and annoying their families and threatening them online. But yeah, it looks like, you guys, the Department of Homeland Security announced this Disinformation Governance Board has been put on pause. On pause. A small win, perhaps? A giant win? I don't like the sound of on pause. But the best news here is that the karaoke clown has stepped down. The karaoke clown is no more. So even if they are going to do something like this, obviously they realize that they went way too far by trying to get the public to accept a karaoke clown liar to head up a law enforcement agency. So I don't know. Did everything I just said, does that constitute, how did they put that? Coordinated online attacks? Wandering Wolf, did I just speak too harshly? All I did was look at a little bit of news from both sides. I looked at something from Fox, and then I looked at something from Jeff Bezos' newspaper, written by Taylor Lorenz, who we all know very well now, her tactics, her journalism style. I didn't coordinate with anyone there. I'm just a dude looking at some Fox and looking at some left-wing CIA rag. Did I do bad there? Am I a coordinated online attacker? I'm not a registered Republican either, so they can't really call me right-wing. I mean, did we do okay analysis here?
Well, that's just it. Any analysis from the standpoint of empirically observed reality that doesn't support the narrative they're trying to push is branded as a right-wing attack, because to the people who've already bought into the narrative, they have to continue to position anything that's inconvenient, anything that's questioning the validity of what's going on, as a horrifying, egregious right-wing act of psychological terrorism. No, of course you didn't do anything wrong. It's simple analysis. It's simply looking at the information that's being presented from the ivory tower and using your discernment, using your intellect to draw some understanding of what you're being presented with. And of course, that's going to be filtered through some lens of subjectivity to a certain degree, but certainly on its face, it doesn't make it right wing. No, they have to say that it's right wing because, again, anything that questions the narrative, anything that questions the ivory towers has to be branded that way. And it's interesting kind of watching this play out. I mean, I'll admit I haven't been following it super closely, but what I have noticed is that it seems that so much of the legitimized opposition that they are allowing to get in front of the cameras and speak publicly about this, they're able to silo as right-wing opposition. And so it's theater, so much of it is meant to support the narrative. And as they step back, as they decide to try a different tack to employ and utilize these tactics, all that's really happening is it's going underground and it's going to go back through the channels of deployment where it was working. And that was in the tech companies and in the industries that create the algorithms and that create the technology that enables this kind of censorship to thrive. So, they realized, okay, we weren't able to move the goalposts this time to the level of centralization of control that we want. That's fine. We'll just go back underground. We'll go back to plan B. We'll go back to the tech companies because that was working just fine. So in a sense, I'm not sure that I would necessarily call it good news that they've walked this back somewhat, because again, it's like black mold. It's if it's behind the walls in your house, all you know is that you're in the house and something is making you sick, and you will go through the house and you will clean, you'll pull up the carpets, you do everything possible to try to find the source of your discomfort. But when you actually get into the walls and you expose it to sunlight and you can deal with it directly, then you actually have a chance of solving the problem. So anything that they make direct, we can directly attack, and we can do it through reasonable analysis and critique. Anything that gets walked back, expect it to be driven underground and to still be in operation in a completely clandestine way.
There you go. Yeah. Yep. All right, Ruckus, listen to this. I'll do Taylor a solid and I'll let her explain. I'll read a little bit more from there. We listened to Rand talk, for a minute. So here's another snippet from Dreaded Wapo. And remember, Taylor and the karaoke clown, Nina Jankowicz. I know that's mean, folks, but it is just the best. It's the best name. I had to grab onto it. Ruckus noticed it when I first dropped it, and I was like, all right, I'm going to stick with that. So y'all can use it, but it's TM over here, all right? Okay. Quote, but within hours of news of her appointment, Jankowicz was thrust into the spotlight by the very forces she dedicated her career to combating. The board itself and DHS received criticism for both its somewhat ominous name and scant details of specific mission. Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas said it could have done a better job of communicating what it is and what it isn't. We heard him talk about it. He didn't do a very good job at that. He was obviously trying to make it clear as mud. Back to the article. But Jankowicz was on the receiving end of the harshest attacks, with her role mischaracterized as she became a primary target on the right-wing internet. She has been subject to an unrelenting barrage of harassment and abuse, while unchecked misrepresentations of her work continue to go viral. What do you think? Do we feel sorry for her yet?
Is that the intention, I suppose? Well, I don't feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for many of these government officials in these three-letter agencies and whatnot, especially ones that want to, inflict so much censorship and control upon us. I mean, it's ridiculous, especially considering what we do here. It's like, kind of take that personal, lady. That nickname was great, Hesher, but I heard a better one, and I'm 99% sure it came from Salty Cracker. So shout out to Salty Cracker. He called her Scary Poppins.
Yeah,
and
that's
I thought
a good one.
that was pretty good. But yeah, that lady. I'm just, I don't know. I'm in a mix between like hooray, yay, it's a win kind of thing. Like I'm glad that there was pushback or whatnot, and they rolled this back and it's on pause or whatever. But I can't help but feel that this whole thing is playing the blue team, red team politics thing, So it's hard for me to get behind this. And Rand Paul, man, I love everything that he says and does, but I can't trust the guy half the time. He did, interestingly enough, he came out recently. He also was like almost single-handedly trying to put a halt to all this money going to Ukraine for no reason and trying to get some transparency on all of that.
I saw that. I know. And I thought that was good too. I actually have that in my notes a little further down. And the thing that I noticed about that, because we probably won't even get that far, I'll just throw it out there now. Even in that case, the best he can do is put it on pause, right? Like his not signing off on it doesn't mean it's not going to happen, or it wouldn't happen through other means. It just means it's going to take them a little longer to break through some of the hoops, waivers. I'm guessing waivers are going to be involved, something like that.
And I'm guessing there's a certain base group of people who will be continuously supporting and voting for him.
Right.
Just saying.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So what about you, Chopper? What do you think about this? You heard our episode where we actually played her doing her Scary Poppins thing to Salty Crackers credit, the karaoke clown there.
Yeah, I did catch that. That was good. Actually, it was. I was getting a little irritated. Not at you guys, just the whole thought of the whole thing in general. I was like, damn, this is messed up, man. Yeah, and then I saw that article too. How do these people who are like the purveyors of disinformation, like it's literally like their job, and they get to decide what's true and not, and what can be? It's nonsense. It's so bass backwards. I was watching Fauci talk, and like, dude, you're out here lying your ass off all the time,
right?
And you have the balls to stand there and accuse other people of doing the same shit you do? Like, really? The nerve of these people is kind of frightening, I guess. But yeah, man,
Yeah.
I'm with you guys in the fact that, yeah, cool, they got a bunch of backlash, like, duh, what'd you expect? And of course they got to politicize it, and you must be a right winger. And dude, I read that article. They're like trying to tie it to like white nationalism violence or something. Get out of here. What do you're come on, man.
Right. And how stupid do they think the public is to have these two women who are friends, and this girl Taylor here gets the scoop, right? She's the first one to put the article out, so WAPO gets all the clicks and all the credit for this article coming out first. But it's like you could tell the way the article's written, it's just like it's it's a cover piece for Jankowicz. It's like Jankowicz got out ahead. She got to announce her own resignation because this was a wildly unpopular idea, as I believe you put it. And then Taylor puts the article out and tries to put all the blame squarely on, every bumper sticker that the left loves to use and the media loves to use. To what? To sow division, to sow that polarization that we were talking about earlier. And then like Corey was saying, they go back to plan B. It's not like we don't have a Ministry of Truth anymore. We still have NewsGuard. We still have
and as he said,
yeah,
well, like, and as he was talking about the Twitter is like ramping up their thing. I saw today. We're gonna ramp talking about silencing people in real time during crises or something.
Yeah, well, we got an election coming up, man.
Yeah, I guess that's what that really means. I didn't click on it because I didn't have time. I was busy, but
yeah, something goes down that they don't want the public, showing alternative narratives, aka them filming real things with their cell phones and tweeting them. They can just shut down a whole area, and we've seen that in a lot of conflict zones, and they've said they're doing that. This is
and they were doing that in the Arab Spring stuff, right? I remember reading about that then.
Yep, they did it then. They did it for several of the oh gosh, I had a list somewhere, but there was a number of highly politicized events, and anytime they have one of those color revolution things, there's all kind of signal blocking happening and algorithmic stuff happening, and they've admitted that. You folks can research that, you'll find examples of it.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, I'm glad it got backlash and they did back off. In a way, too, I think they're stupid if they push hard on that because apparently the so-called right, I guess, is if they want to mess with Roe v. Wade, I don't know why they would right now. And the seems like the blue party's been burying themselves lately. So
Yeah.
but okay, so then you can bring something like this up and it riles people up, but ultimately I believe they're just going to pull it back and go back into the drawing board with it.
Yeah.
Just especially the wording. I mean, they say, right, well, it's on pause. We don't really know what we're going to do right now with this. Nothing right now.
Mhm.
Okay. And they didn't say, oh, we're sorry. Yeah, that was maybe no, nothing like that. Just we're
Right.
on pause.
Right.
We're
Yeah.
on
It didn't.
pause until the next election cycle, and then we'll try again.
Yeah. It didn't test well. It was like a. Corey, what do you think? Was that like a pilot right there? It was like a bad television pilot. It just didn't test well. Not enough people were into it, and they thought they had a winner there, but it
Yeah,
wasn't.
I think that's a good way to think of it. Yeah, a pilot or a focus group, a massive focus group. That's all it is now. At this level in the media, everything is a focus group. You have test audiences within test audiences. I mean, that's really the way these things are thought of at the industry level. I mean, you think about public relations firms. They really work like marketing agencies and ad agencies now. They're using the same kind of marketing and design thinking on NPR firms that we use to sell hamburgers. It's the exact same mindset driving all of this. And I was having a thought on the break because we kind of brushed on the amount of accounts on Twitter that are fake, and you said, Hesher, it was something like 40 to 60%. Think about that. If you have 40 to 60% of the accounts on Twitter are bots or fake accounts or not genuine, let's say, operated by someone who is pretending to be someone who has influence or clout in the world, then so much of consumer behavior, so much of a political behavior is people trying to get validation from bots and from fake accounts on Twitter. Think about that for a moment.
That's freaky. That is completely freaky. And I hate to even go here, really, honestly, I apologize. But if half of his Twitter followers are fake and there was so much sketchy stuff happening during the election, you got to wonder how many of his votes were fake. I mean, how can you not? I don't know.
Yeah, it's all what we call in the film industry, and certainly at the commercial level, because most of us who work on feature films also do commercials. Commercials, that's what pays the bills. And we have this concept now of the attention economy. I mean, that's the real economy, is eyeballs, it's clicks, it's engagement. What do you do to get engagement? And when you kind of step back and realize just how ubiquitous this kind of media is and how much access we have to that at all times, because we're all walking around with these smartphones in our pockets, really, in a sense, the semiotic perception of all this is that the media is the nation. There's no distinction between the media environment and the actual nation itself. They've become one in the same. And I think about on last week's show, you aired a video that was made by U.S. Special Forces. It was kind of a recruitment video, right? It was really, it was kind of sexy and dramatic, and they were really trying to sell this idea of psychological operations. And it really, what we're seeing with all of this really it calls to mind the notion of battle space. We're not in a world where we're dealing with battlefields anymore. We're dealing with the battle space. And so that is not only what is going on the ground in a theater of war, but it's what's going on economically, it's what's going on semiotically in the media, and it's what's going on in the individual who's engaging with all of this content, and it's also going on with the individuals on the ground in the conflict itself. So what you have is you have a battle space sandwich. It's a battle space inside of a battle space inside of a battle space. That is the new concept, really, of how all of these tools are being utilized to drive perception and semiotic warfare.
Yeah, there you go. Hybrid warfare. We've got it all. We've got hybrid warfare wrapped up in a burrito of other, just all flavors. It's all flavors. That's why we're so critical of the narrative, the mainstream narrative, and we try to look at, all sources of it that we can to see if we can't unpack what the message is, what the carrier wave is, all that stuff. Ruckus, I mean, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I have one other observation that I wasn't sure if I would vocalize or not, but why the F not? It is interesting, this character, I may use the word character, might have more than one meaning here, of Scary Poppins, the karaoke clown Jankowicz. She's if you look at her resume, she's an accomplished, successful, incredibly ambitious, almost to a fault woman. And I wouldn't be surprised if sometime in the near future, this whole story, this character, this PR, this public relation building of her and who she and what she is and where that's heading is, I think we're going to see a book probably for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if she's heavily involved in the politics game in the near future, and she might be on the ticket for some pretty big stuff sometime in the near future. So if we don't like her now, we might really not like her sometime in the near future, unfortunately.
Oh no. Are you trying to tell me that we're going to see her in the squad? I don't want to see that, Chopper. I don't need the karaoke clown to join the squad.
Why not? Might as well. It'd be more clown show.
Right? Okay, I guess that's a fitting position, perhaps. Mindspace, what do you think about this, man? Is this a win or what? Especially considering that we still have like this entire digital grid of algorithms and AIs and legislation just encroaching on free speech.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know if it's a win. I mean, I think that if anything, like a lot of things seem like they're floated out there for different purposes. Maybe it's to push the thing itself overtly, or it is just to take the temperature of the public. So they do get a lot of information about the reaction that people have to the public front. I mean, because it's like, okay, they brought it out publicly. Maybe that was just to kind of see if the public would acquiesce to it and warm up to the idea. But I mean, they were already doing that kind of stuff. Like that stuff hasn't gone away. There's no way that they just like roll this thing out and it's like, oh, this new thing is like, we already know we've got the Patriot Act, we've got all these other things. I mean, de facto, we've already been living in that kind of environment already. So do you see what I mean? I mean, it was kind of redundant to even create the board to begin with.
Yeah, I do. We can use our colleagues 21stcenturywire.com as an example. In 2017, they were they were swept up in the Google adpocalypse and were demonetized substantially in that particular income range. And most recently, they were removed from Twitter for so-called medical misinformation, for simply doing their due diligence in trying to look at all the sources and come up with their own opinion. Independent journalism.
This is like the government coming out and saying they have a secret UFO program, and then they say, "Oh, but we shut it down."
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Or a box of files was not properly shredded, and someone found out that we had this MK Ultra program. Oh, don't worry, it's shut down. We don't do psychological operations on our people, our citizens anymore. What? I beg to differ after watching that recruiting video from last week, after viewing the shutdown of independent media, the shadow banning of independent media, the deplatforming of independent media. 21st Century Wire has also, and this show have also been attacked by university professors, people like Nina Jankowicz. This has been happening to us for years. So none of that has gone away. They say Elon's going to save Twitter. I know the deal's not done yet, but I won't feel like he saved anything unless I get my account returned to me, and an explanation as to why it was removed. I didn't even get the pleasure, the honor of being removed for medical misinformation. I was removed before that whole thing even happened with no reason. And my current account has over 2,000 followers, and I never get more than 10 retweets or when I put anything out. So I know it's shadow banned. So yeah, they have a ministry of truth that is, it's the 3/4 built Death Star. You know what I mean? Maybe this DHS board is the final pieces of that Death Star, and the population just didn't test as ready for it yet. But it's there, and the tractor beam's operational, and the Planet Smasher's operational and fully functional, right? I mean, Wandering Wolf, we can call this a win. Maybe it's a social win by our society not accepting Jankowicz, but the Ministry of Truth has been here, and it ain't going anywhere until some big changes happen.
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, you can call it a win, but that doesn't mean that you then get to relax and that you no longer have to be vigilant and that we can go home and the battle's over. No, absolutely not. This is what's going on in the media space and in the information space. To me, looks more and more in a strange way like the Western Front. You're talking about years of grinding attrition where it's everything but the kitchen sink to gain a few meters of ground, and then you get pushed back probably farther than your previous trench. And so you're constantly going back and forth, expending everything you possibly can in terms of personnel and materiel to regain the same ground that you lost a year earlier. And you're really going nowhere. You're grinding down two massive armies. I really think that that's what we're seeing going on in this, and I'm also kind of wondering too, and this might be a bit of a stretch. I'm just throwing it into the discussion, but when I think from a public relations standpoint about how this all played out and how they walked this back, and the narrative that this article is presenting. Funnily enough, I don't know if anyone's noticed this, but the headline seems to be something of a Freudian slip because they're talking about, disinformation efforts. So it's almost confessional in terms of the way it's presented. But the narrative around, this woman in a position of power being bullied off of a public platform. Now, where have we seen this before over the last, say, 5, 6, 7 years? I think it started with Gamergate.
Gamergate, yep.
Yeah, because that was really the pattern that we were seeing. That was the narrative that we were being presented with. And even back then, they were saying, oh, these gamers, they're all right-wing Trump supporting assholes. That was the narrative that was pushed for years and years and years. So there's a part of me that looks at what's going on now and looks at, what was going on then. And I see that also as test audiences, focus groups, an attempt to use the tools of marketing manipulation to see if they can present a pattern in society and scale it, and then use what they've done to predict how the American public and people all over the world are going to react to certain semiotics.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So many things go back to Gamergate. That's when the pickup artist culture fell apart. That's when the manosphere sort of splintered into a more political sort of thing and got way more heady. That's when the intellectual dark web started to form. That's when people started to give a crap about Jordan Peterson, and it was a pretty pivotal time. And the backlash of the other side too, the side that took the feminist side, I guess you might call it. I don't know what the woke side of that argument. I'll correct myself there. They got more extreme also. All right, quick question here. I'll put it on the screen there. Zimph wants to know, have you guys ever heard of the term internet rot? No, I have. I mean, I would hope I know what that is. I feel like that's what I swim in every day to get these shows prepared. You'll have to link us to if they have what do you call the slang dictionary, the urban dictionary. Send us an urban dictionary link there. Yeah, Chopper, what do you think? Internet rot. Are you familiar with this term? You're muted.
No, just basically like you are. Like, yeah, it's there. It's
But-
internet rot. I'm not sure exactly what that means.
Yeah, is that like
That's
mind
new
rot?
to me.
Mind rot caused by the internet?
Yeah, there you go.
Internet
I don't know. I mean,
radicalization?
I'm with you. I want to see the Urban Dictionary thing. We'll have to check that out.
Yeah, we're gonna need to pull that one into our lexicon, right? Mindspace, internet rot.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What did the term mean again?
We don't know. He was asking, he or she was asking if we knew what that term meant. Do you have an internal definition for internet rot?
I mean, I could venture a guess. Is it the decayed fringes of the internet that are causing some sort of, I don't know, bad social influence? What is internet rot?
Yeah, tell us. All right. Ruckus, how about you? Ever heard the term?
It's when you sit at your computer for so long, like a part of your body starts to rot and fall off.
Oh, okay. Well, I have that. I think it's in my L7. All right, there you go. Okay, just to round this one out here with the karaoke clown, Glenn Greenwald. Thanks to our friend Matt out there that sent me this Twitter thread here by Greenwald. He says it's a cause of momentary celebration that the Department of Homeland Security was forced by popular anger. Here, let me put this on screen so Ruckus doesn't have to stare at himself and he can actually see the article. The absurd resistance cartoon they hired to run it. But read this to see how angry Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz are that this happened. Investigating and criticizing a Homeland Security official is now quote unquote harassment and bullying, according to the Washington Post at Taylor Lorenz. Only ordinary citizens can be investigated, not high level U.S. security state operatives. Them's the rules. Glenn Greenwald. Summary of the rules from Washington Post and Taylor Lorenz, if you're confused. High-level officials of the Department of Homeland Security off limits from investigation and criticism. Anonymous citizens who tweet bad ideologies, dox, unmask, bang on relatives' doors. All right, so that's what Taylor Lorenz is famous for. Doxing, unmasking, and banging on relatives' doors of anonymous citizens on the interwebs. So there you go. I liked his juxtaposition there. Pretty cool. If you're just joining us, you are listening to the Boiler Room, and we're down to Ruckus, myself, Wandering Wolf, Mindspace Art, and Chopper for this May 19th edition of the Boiler Room. Anyone want to throw anything else out there about the pausing? I wish we could say the nixing, but the pausing of this new Ministry of Truth.
I just want to mention real quick when we were talking about it that when I read that article, I had no idea who the author was. I didn't know anything about any of the background, but I read the article and I laughed a lot, honestly, because it was so stupid. But so that was all news to me. Then when you sent me the thread and all that, and then it was like, oh, okay, like I had a little more background to it.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because if one is to just read WAPO and read that, like that's the only angle you get on it. So, again, just you got to look at all the sides here and try to think for yourself. Otherwise, you're going to get wrapped up in one of the dialectics on it. And I think, I don't know, someone raise your hand if I'm wrong, but I think we're pretty much in agreement here that we already have a Ministry of Truth. It's well established. It's well founded. It's algorithmic. It's cultural. It's social. It's in Hollywood productions. It's in advertising. It's seeped into our schools, into our colleges, our language, our court systems. It's in our executive branch. It's in our legislative branch. It's in our judicial branch, and it's nipping away at constitutional foundations. So that's why I bring it up, and that's why
It needs a name. I mean, it's this huge, ever-present, living, massive thing, and we don't even know what the hell to call it. That's really crazy.
And we can't say deep state anymore because that term has now been absorbed by that thing, by that monster.
Maybe we can call it internet rot.
There you go. Call it internet rot. All
And
right.
Hesher, you were talking about your Twitter earlier. You said like maybe 10 people would tweet or retweet it or whatever. It's not because you were being shadow banned. It's because all of your followers are bots, dude.
Yeah. Right. I'm like Biden, right? I only half of my I only have 1,000. It's 1,000 fake accounts. I don't know. Could be.
Hey, Hesher, two things that we could possibly call this ever-present, gigantic, I guess, machine, really, behind all of this. I would submit into consideration Hydra or the Leviathan, because I think, both of those things, the Hydra being that thing of many heads, and it seems to have a head in all the institutions, and the Leviathan being a particular monstrous convalescence of all human understanding, that's not necessarily working to our benefit, but that's what I would suggest.
I was biting my tongue to blurt out Hydra and interrupt Ruckus while he was saying that, so I think we're on a similar wavelength there, man. That's it is. It's something of mythic lore, mythic lore in a technocratic overlay. It's something that, recorded history has never seen before. We've seen, hybrid warfare, full scale warfare, full spectrum warfare, all that shit, but we've never seen it with this set of cybernetic feedback loops associated with it. So that's what makes it mythical. That's what makes it biblical. That's what makes it hard to nail down. And if we were to hashtag name it, Hydra something, and it actually took off, well, the mainstream media would just consume it, just like they did the term deep state, all that stuff. So it's like you got to be creative and stay creative to stay ahead of the curve, man. That happened with woke too, right? Like Ruckus, you'll remember when me and you first met, like it was a giant talking point in independent and alternative media to talk about, well, we need to wake people up. When are people going to wake up? I don't know who started that, but it was just part of the lexicon, if you will. And then all of a sudden Trump comes around and everybody goes woke, and it's like, oh well, there's in the people's minds that weren't like there with us in those days in those media circles, there's no difference, and all of a sudden woke means something like completely different, right?
Yeah, first of all, I gotta say kudos to you and Wandering Wolf. You guys took that in a more intelligent direction than I was. I was really thinking we need a name for it, like Bob or Harry or Jimmy. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, the woke thing, for the longest time, even up to fairly recently, I still was confused about what that term meant, because it meant something different to me from what you just mentioned. Like, I thought, being awake or woke meant that you were woke to the New World Order. You know what I mean? And they love to hijack all of these things. You know what I mean? They do that with everything, all the good stuff. Like, I can remember, they do that with the fake news even and all that stuff, dude. It's so ridiculous. Like, it's so funny, except it's not.
Right. Especially when they start ripping off independent media and taking their ideas and going mainstream with them. It can be frustrating to see that. All right, let's see. Anyone else want to throw in on that? And I'll just go us through another quick one here.
One last super quick thing, man. So what you were just sharing, it was talking, if I understand it correctly, it was talking about delegitimizing the criticism of government employees. Did I get that right?
Yeah, let me put it on the screen for you and the viewers here. It's this part right here. He was comparing one of her tweets to something that he had thrown out there, and this is basically his summary here. So when it comes to high-level officials of Department of Homeland Security, they're off limits from investigation and criticism from just normal sandwich eaters like you and me, salad eaters, whatever, steak eaters. And then by contrast, anonymous citizens who tweet bad ideologies, aka, us, um, it is okay to dox, unmask, and bang on their relatives' doors.
Okay, yeah, no, thanks for recapping that because I wanted to. I had a thought that came to mind, and I wanted to double check to make sure that I was thinking clearly. It sounds an awful like an inquisition or a witch hunt to me. I mean, you have this priestly class that's venerated above all criticism, and you can't possibly critique them without ending up on the rack. And now, at least for the time being, the rack exists in the digital space, which in a sense could make it just as deadly. At least to those who have become so enmeshed in the machine that they're not able to adapt and become social rejects and be self-sufficient. So it's just kind of interesting to see the Inquisition has gone digital.
Yeah, it really has. We got digital witch hunts going on here, and hydras to watch out for in the midst of the witch hunts. Because I mean, look at Taylor Loren. She's a great example. These people can end up on your doorstep. They can quite easily end up on your doorstep. Stupid, silly. What are the chances of it happening to normal Joe Blow? But it did. It absolutely did. All right, so
Is it illegal to put a trap door under your welcome mat in front of your house?
Not according to Looney Tunes.
You have to check your local laws and regulations for that.
That's right, folks. Do your research. All right. Let's see here. So we covered Twitter, and let's what okay, Ruckus, you mentioned this earlier, I think. What do you guys there was in the first time in 50 years, we had a official, I think it was a Senate hearing on UFOs, or I believe they call them UAPs now. They're trying to switch to UAPs as the government term for it, right? Unknown aerial phenomena, or unknown aerial phenomenon, something like that. Unidentified aerial phenomenon, perhaps. Interesting that I find it really interesting, and I'll just jump right ahead. I'm going to just leapfrog the whole thing and say I think it's very interesting that they're rolling out aliens right now while they're considering handing over the power to the World Health Organization to suspend our constitution in any future pandemics. I find it interesting that we've got so many wonderful distractions while that is happening in the background. Like that should be, I would think, the kind of thing that people would be in an uproar about. But no, we've got Roe v. Wade and UFOs and Putin and I have a lot. Yeah, Buffalo. What else? We've got BLM,
Amber Heard pooping.
Amber Heard, libs of TikTok, inflation. I mean, we start sounding like the dude, like Howard Beale, if we start rolling through the list and getting a little bit louder with each one. So, very interesting to me that UFOs right now, they're rolling that one out while we're talking about giving up our constitution to an entity, not even a country, an entity that is privately funded by.
I haven't. So go
Yeah.
ahead, finish.
No, well, I was just going to say privately funded by people with vested interests in these kind of things. So, yeah, what do you think, Chopper?
I find it interesting that I have seen nothing about this on any kind of amplified mainstream level. I've only seen it in like the so-called alternative media, basically. Nobody's talking about it. So
Yeah,
that's a great point, Asher.
And it's going to be decided like any day now, I believe. I'll tip my hat to Ben Swan. I saw Ben Swan did a report on it on his Instagram TV. I didn't get to watch it, but I was stoked to see someone that's at least rubbing elbows with mainstream media doing something on it. But again, he's someone that has had to build his own platform and build his own brand because he bounced around from local Fox affiliate to local Fox affiliate and just kept getting yellow carded and, booted out because he is willing to report on things like this. So, yeah. Wondering Wolf, have you seen much about this? Are we off? Are we missing something in the mass media cartel streams, or is this just being totally ghosted?
I personally have seen nothing about this, and I wouldn't put it past them. It's just all of these things. And I had this thought when the whole uproar about Roe v. Wade hit a week or two ago. It's just another weapon of mass distraction. That's something that we talk about often on the Boiler Room, and yeah, it's misdirection. There was that kind of ridiculous John Travolta film from 2000, Swordfish. He talked about misdirection and how magicians actually are able to pull off their tricks on stage by getting you to look at one thing while doing something over there that you're not seeing through sleight of hand. That's all it is. It's sleight of hand. It's misdirection. Hey, look at this. Look at aliens. Look at the people riding in the street. Whatever it is, while they're doing these various things behind the scenes. So no, of course they're not talking about it. And yeah, it's disturbing. I mean, if this thing is going to be decided any day now, without the public being involved in the discussion or in that process, then what we really have is a hijacking of all three of the branches of government that are supposed to serve the people. But of course, again, this hijacking, it happened a long time ago. It's not like this has only just begun. I mean, these things have been in process for a very long time. And the public have been sedated with distraction, with media, largely with bad food, with stress and a high allostatic load, which keeps people in a state of anxiety. It keeps people traumatized. It makes people sick, and it makes people feel dependent on external forces for their salvation. And at the same time, while we have that sedation, we also have the illusion that all of this chaos that's being engendered is inevitable. And when people feel that there's nothing they can do and everything's getting worse and the world's going to shit all the time, then they get paralyzed with fear. And that only hastens the degree to which they are willing to abdicate their own agency and externalize their locus of control and look outside of themselves for salvation. It really is a disturbing secular religious thinking in a sense. It's not that people are not necessarily worshiping a god when they're externalizing that locus of control. They're worshiping the state. The state is God. They're worshiping the state. They're worshiping these organizations like the WHO, and saying, save us from ourselves, save us from our own hubris, save us from our Western decadence, save us from our whiteness, whatever it is. And it's just it feels so inevitable to so many people, because I think they're just being sedated, paralyzed, overstimulated, and told that the only solution is the complete abdication of the world that they've known, everything that they've ever known. Yeah, it's profoundly disturbing.
Yeah, it really is. And you touched on something there that I've been thinking about a lot, which is the old propaganda tactic of saying something often enough that it just becomes like a foregone conclusion. So these things that they repeat over and over and over again, and these themes that they weave into our mythology, be that comics or books or movies or whatever, you'll see the path right there. And there's so many other futures that we could be creative about and talk about, write about, that aren't dystopias, that aren't like technocratic hellscapes, but that's all we've been given. We've been getting that for decades and decades and decades, arguably millennia.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's sort of in the pop culture circles in which I run in the industry. Most of us are big Star Trek fans, and it's funny because myself and a number of the other assistant cameras and DPs I work with won't watch any of the new shows because they're so dystopic. There's no. It used to be. positioned from a place of optimism and hey, you know, this is what humanity could become. And you know, I know that there's some nefarious origins to why Gene Roddenberry started the show in the first place and his involvement with the Rand Corporation and everything else. But the general through line of optimism and humanity at its best, humanity having kind of come together and solved its problems, that's, you know, that's largely been erased with this, you know, Starfleet and the Federation. It's all corrupt and everything's horrible and evil. And here's an alternate universe where Nazis rule the planet and subjugate everyone. It's hard to find any fiction what, you know, of any genre, any content out there, any show, any storytelling that's optimistic and that's demonstrating that the human condition, yeah, it's definitely one born of struggle. You know, human beings have had to overcome tremendous odds in order to still be on this planet and be alive and have the civilizations that we've managed to create. But there's also so much beauty to that as well. You know, we create absolutely amazing works of art. We can create amazing cooperative societies that are voluntary and not this centrally planned, top-down authoritarian nightmare that is being positioned to us as the only thing that can save us from ourselves. You know, the whole notion of hubris in fiction, you know, that goes back to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. You know, and the idea that it was hubristic for this doctor to create life by bypassing the natural process of human reproduction between a man and a woman. And now we're, you know, in the sense where everything has become this Frankensteinian hubristic hybrid, this pastiche of so many different fixations and so many different obsessions and so many different fears. And actually positioning storytelling from a place of optimism. The thinking in the industry is that, well, you know, no one's going to watch that because it's boring, because there's no drama, because it's not interesting, and people can't see themselves, right? It's this narcissistic protocol that drives everything. If people can't see themselves in a work of fiction, they're not going to buy into it. What happened to people seeing the best of themselves? What happened to people seeing the potential that each and every one of us has to transcend the struggles of our condition and attain something better for ourselves as human beings? That's gone. And so decline, dystopia, and human beings as being these undeserving, destructive creatures that are, you know, against nature and deserve to be destroyed has become normalized. I mean, it's peak inversion.
Yeah, that there you go, man. That's really well said. That says that mind space that fits right in with everything that we've been talking about, and goes back to Alan Moore discussing magic in that last talk that you did the video on, as well as this one tonight that you did. Um, I think we're really hitting on something here. You know, look how hard we have to dig to find people intellectually talking about this, you know, and the way in which our entertainment culture has just played a part in being one of the major heads of that hydra, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm enjoying the process of trying to find those pearls of insight and you know, those positive messages that are sort of buried under the scrap heap of modernity. Like but they're there. I mean, we're finding that they are there, and you know, there's an aspirational aspect to life that, you know, Wandering Wolf is completely correct about, that's put to the side because people think, in our cynical world, people think that that's being idealistic to have any aspiration at all, you know, to want to attain to a higher state, to want to see deeper into, you know, beneath the surface of existence, and, you know, beneath all the veils and the garb, you know, what is really there, and who are we within it all? I mean, these are basic questions that people, if they don't ask them, it's not that you get well, you get more sick, you get more addicted to pills, you get more addicted to entertainment and BS and brainwashing, and you just feed in more into the religion of the day. It's totally insane, you know. And I I couldn't help but thinking about this when Corey was talking of how like a lot of what's going on is this self-inflicted just drama of self-suffering and sabotage, like people just, you know, causing pain on themselves. People are in they are they're just addicted to pain and suffering, and it's like it can become its own thing, you know, constantly thinking that everything is fear, everything is doom and gloom, everything is nihilism. And then it kind of makes people stupid, because when they do start to see the light in the world, they don't recognize it as readily, you know. And maybe that's just a function of our biology. We're more adapted to seeing things from a negative lens because we're always trying to, you know, protect ourselves. But that makes us blind to the things that we should be grateful for and that we should, you know, lean into, even though sometimes it's uncomfortable to get outside of your solipsistic bubble. You know, you venture forth and you ask questions and you learn from other people, and it's a better way to negotiate with life than to be so feeling disconnected all the time and alienated or afraid because the propagandists on the television are telling you what you can say or do or think. You know, I mean, and we've been touching on that as well, of maturity, how that's involved in that. You know, the more mature that people become, the more that they elevate and start to see life from a more realistic angle, maybe the more they will feel that they can participate in that way, you know?
Yeah, someone in the chat over at YouTube earlier said the Peter Pan effect. It's so much worse than the Peter Pan effect right now. Like what we have now is even worse. Like I don't know what to call this. It's we're telling little kids it's okay to identify as a cat and just drop out of society before they even graduate the 5th grade. So I don't know what the heck that encourages. Probably something way, way more toxic than the old school Peter Pan effect, you know, boy or girl that just refused to grow up sort of thing. This is a different animal that the Hydra spit out here. All right, we covered some ground here. Let me circle back to Ruckus. Ruckus, you want to throw anything in on all this, or have any thoughts on the UFO Senate hearing here?
Yeah, right. No, but talk about huge distraction. I wonder what one of the things might be that we're being distracted from, because there is something that like hardly anybody is mentioning, taking place in 3 days from now. Does anybody know what's going down? Anyone?
Tell us.
No guesses? Okay, see, that's my point. See, they got us good, man.
Is this
They're
other
doing
than the WHO thing? We have another piece of the Hydra coming at us?
even worse, man. The
Oh, no.
WEF, the Davos, the World Economic Forum's annual meeting is taking place on May 23rd, 22nd. There we go, through the 26th.
Is it a Zoom call this year, or the ghouls meeting
I
at the
think
Ghoul
this is,
Council?
I don't know. I don't know if this one's in person or not. I dare not look, but
I
this
bet
is, I mean,
they're
this is gonna be
partying
like,
on all their new seized Russian yachts.
Oh, they got super yachts, right? They give those to the Davos crowd?
I'm sure. Who else can afford them?
Good point.
I know it's like a shit ton of countries represented that are going to this thing. You'd think like people are talking about this kind of thing, but it's like, no, we're going to talk about UFOs, Johnny Depp, and all this stuff. But I promise you, there'll be all sorts of interesting stuff going on there about, you know, futures of diseases and pandemics and digital dollars and blockchains and who owns what land and your soy slop and how much you're going to get allotted to you on your, you know, your universal basic income and all that fun jazz. So I hope we're all paying attention to that. I know I will be.
Yeah, and we should be, because here's something kind of tangentially related there. Related to the WHO suspension of sovereignty thing that's happening. Out of CBS News here, monkeypox. Uh-oh, monkeypox. That can't be good. Let me put it on the screen here for everybody. There we go. Yeah. Monkeypox identified in Massachusetts General Hospital patient. Oh boy. Massachusetts health officials announced they have confirmed a case of the monkeypox, the first case of the rare virus identified in the United States in 2022. Wonderful, wonderful. So we've got them already talking about, making a little test case here for the next pandemic. And wow, just in time. Also, I believe I saw an article saying that one of these companies, probably Pfizer, uh, was working on or patented a monkeypox jab in 2020, early 2020, 2019, 2020, somewhere in there. So there's some, little red flags all over those sets of news when you put them together there, Ruckus. And the WEF meeting, they love this kind of stuff, right? They love sitting around and planning about this sort of stuff. They write books about it. Klaus has a couple books out everybody should probably get familiar with just to get in the mindset.
Did you see pictures of that stuff? That's the other thing, is this one's got this nice, awesome, frightening visual, like these blistery pus pockets and marks all over your body or whatever. It really doesn't look fun. So, but I mean, I don't know how they're going to convince people that, like, okay, let's say if like it's so visually outward and you can see this on people's faces and exposed skin, how are they going to get away with like getting all these people to take it, and then the people who are against taking the jab and they're not exhibiting that, how are they going to say that those people who aren't showing the symptoms, because this would be a disease that's not this asymptomatic thing, unless they just say, oh yeah, you're just a carrier for it, you dirty a-hole who don't have marks all over your body. I don't know. This is just weird.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem right there. Can they have and would they dare would they dare try to have an asymptomatic carrier narrative attached to that? I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past them because we covered the news about that. I don't have it to hand, but there's a company that Gates and Soros bought that is doing exactly this. I'll see if I can find the show where we analyze that and has the reference links on it so you folks can check it out. But yeah, the same people that make money in all of these revolving doors, well, they're buying up these labs where they can rapidly develop new mRNA technology, rapidly develop new test kits, and all done based on computer modeling, right? Not done based on any sort of um, isolation, any true isolation. They use something called an isolate, which is a misnomer. It's not something that has been isolated. So yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem right there, Ruckus. So we got a lot of stuff we're being distracted from, and we have a lot of stuff to be distracted with. And some of it is much more fun to be distracted with than some of these things that we're talking about and postulating could be the things that uh, the weapons of mass distraction are distracting us from. So there you go. There you have it. Wandering Wolf, big question. UFOs, UAPs. What are they? Have you seen one? Are they Space Brothers? Are they Tesla technology? Are they Chi-Com technology? What are we seeing here? Do you have an opinion?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I've definitely seen things in the sky that I can't explain for many years. At the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's an extraterrestrial phenomenon, or that it's interdimensional or anything else. I mean, I'm I'm like Fox Mulder. I want to believe, but I also want to question the source. I want to question who is presenting us with the information, who is presenting us with the accounts and the evidence. And it's one of those things that it's just, I'm an empiricist. Unless it's in front of my eyes and I am witnessing something myself, Unfortunately, I just have to be skeptical these days. I mean, I feel like I've been presented with so much, visual data that I can't verify. I can't verify where it came from. I can't verify if we're looking at After Effects, if we're looking at something that was done in Da Vinci. And certainly, I work in an industry. I'm in, for those who don't know, I'm a cinematographer. I work in Hollywood. I'm in the film industry, and I see visual effects that can be done live. Sometimes at live events and live shows that are absolutely mind-blowing. So, the sort of miniaturization of Project Bluebeam, I sometimes wonder if that's happening on film sets that I've worked on. So it's becoming increasingly difficult to even trust my own senses. So I suppose to answer the question, really, yeah, I want to believe, but I've seen too much to be able to allow myself to believe, I suppose.
I hear you. I hear you. That makes good sense, man. What about you, Ruckus? You live in UAP territory. You ever see anything weird up there in the sky in New Mexico where you're at? And any thoughts on the overall topic?
Yeah, for the record, I don't believe either that they're necessarily extraterrestrially related, but I firmly believe that there are advanced technologies that certain small secretive groups on this planet, especially if you think about it in military applications, what government wouldn't keep some sort of spiffy, high-speed UFO type machine? But how far down the rabbit hole do we want to go? I also believe and wouldn't put it past our government to pull a fast one on us, as it were, in order to keep us in line or push some sort of agenda or narrative on us. We see them do that historically, not hysterically, that too, time and again, right? Both. That's a double right there. And also the thing is that I've seen a lot of evidence. To me personally, you folks need to make your own judgments, do your own research. I'm not going to provide any links to here's the solid evidence, but throughout my years of investigating this, I really do believe that there is somewhere, at least on the back burner, some sort of plan to fake an alien invasion. It would serve so many purposes. I've read some things that the elites, who are the people who think they're the elites that rule the world, are keen on this kind of a plan. And I've heard some stories and interviews with some Air Force people who say that they've messed around with some of these things. And I've also heard and seen instances where these pilots also are purposely faking to be aliens for the purpose of making people believe that they're aliens. I've mentioned it before on this show. I'll mention it again. You guys should check out this documentary, Mirage Men. It's really, really good, but it exposes very quickly, just a quarter of the way in, you're like, oh, I get it. Just the depths that for some reason people will go to make people believe this narrative of aliens specifically. But it's great cover for any advanced technology, God only knows what they're capable of. I mean, they could have so much cool advanced Tesla free energy stuff available to us that it's just simply not profitable to the elites and their little control system, that they don't want us little peons to have access to that stuff, not at all. Plus, how much of it, by the way, the UFO stuff, how much of it really is drone technology? Think about it. These things maneuver and move the way they do. How can a human being endure that? There's no effing way.
Yeah, there's upwards of 22 Gs, I think, and Mach 50 in some cases. Yeah, so definitely. Okay, good one, Ruckus. Mindspace Art, what about you? Ever met a space brother or seen a UAP?
No, none that I can speak of. I mean, I'm trying to think. Have I had paranormal experiences before? I think maybe I've experienced some things which I've thought was some kind of paranormal thing, more like a ghost than a space brother. But no, I do know though that the aliens, they live among us. That there is no doubt.
Is
So
Queen one of them?
the Queen, Well, you know, you got a question. She wears the crown. When you look at the world how it is, you know, you'd have to think this is only a kingdom that could be created by some kind of alien. So, from that perspective, I think that we can see where the dots connect. She certainly seems to love the gold, right?
And the property.
And the property. Never forget the property, right?
Yeah. Real estate, man. It's all
You
about
got to
the
just sweep up all the property. I mean, you know, the plebs, we get the paper, but they get the property. So I'm wondering, what the hell? Why is there all these homeless people? There's plenty of land, you know. I mean, but it's because the aliens who came down in the spaceships, they must be like grabbing everything, you know, and because they want to bring it back to their planet, right? So, spoiler alerts on Childhood's End, guys. You know, they on the alien planet, they're bringing all of the things there just to hold them as artifacts, because they, of course, have no creativity of their own. So I think that's a positive message about humanity. It means that we're the ones who have the soul and the spirit. It ain't the aliens.
All right, there you go. That's Mindspace Art of Soul Purpose, everybody. Chopper, over to you, man. You seen them out there in Arizona? You seen the UAPs? Do you have the night vision goggles to watch the UAPs come out and do their thing? And have you been visited by a gray or a green or any otherwise homunculus space boy?
Well, I have seen I've seen UAP. I've seen things in the sky I couldn't explain, but I mean, yeah, dude, I live in the Southwest in the middle of a big desert. Pretty much every direction I could think of, there is a large military installation. I don't have no idea what's on any of it. You know, or what they're doing, you know.
Yep.
Some of it I do. Actually, there's bombing ranges out here. They got, I would say there's a ton of aerospace going on out in my corner of the country.
Sure. I bet a lot of it's test stuff too.
Yeah. So who knows? I have seen really strange things in the sky though. And I spend a lot of time outside or driving. And I look at the sky a lot anyways. So whatever. I figure it's some high tech shit they don't want to tell us about and then try to cover for it with aliens. I don't know why. Because somebody like me would figure it's their high tech shit anyways. So
All right. So they haven't knocked on the door. They haven't come and got you. They didn't anally probe you. None of that. None of that good evidence. That hard evidence. Chat room wants to hear.
Okay. Well, there was this one time a long time ago when I thought something was rolling down in the sky, but there was other things involved, you know, where
yeah.
So
we got you. We catch your drift.
My
man.
imagination might have been just running a little wild.
Excellent. I can relate. All right. Well, as for me, definitely UAPs is a yes. I've seen things in the sky for sure out in California. I've lived near a number of military installations too, and they used to test the SR-71 over my house where I was growing up, so we would hear the sonic boom sometimes. And yeah, I remember one night standing out on that porch with some of my college friends. I was home from college, and we hadn't even started the party yet, Chopper. So I can't say it was my imagination running wild, as you put it so eloquently. We were just getting started, you know. We probably cracked our first beer and looking up at the sky, and I was tracking what I thought was a satellite, because you can see satellites sometimes, and it was moving like a satellite would, you know, at a pace that, you know, you would think, yeah, that could be a satellite. And then it just stopped. It just stopped. And I was like, that's not something a satellite does. And then it went like, it did this like Z pattern in the sky with like abrupt stops and abrupt changes in directions at speeds that, you know, would break someone's neck. So something was going on there. I've not been visited by the Space Brother or abducted or anything like that, but I've pretty much I'm a psychonaut, you know, so I've seen them. I've seen them all. I've seen the shadow dudes. I've seen the aliens. I've seen all the things that my imagination mixed with psychonaut materials can have someone see. But yeah, I can't say that for sure. And I would like to thank Ruckus for bringing up Mirage Men. If you haven't seen Mirage Men and you're interested in this topic, you must see it. It's a perfect example. Just one hardcore example. This documentary of yeah, there is a case. There's a case to be made. There is a motive for the state or the military industrial complex or whatever to keep people chasing their tails, to convince them to tell other people things that they can't back up, to do character assassination and all kind of things, all kinds of manipulations at play there. You can also look up the Majestic 12. That's another interesting one along this topic. So yeah, there's all that. So I'm super skeptical. I'm very skeptical. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If a little green, large-headed homunculus dude came walking through the door right now with a Ken crotch and all, you know, the long fingers and all that, I would still, you know, if I could pinch him, pat him on the head, smoke a joint with him, whatever, I would still be, there would be this part in my mind, I'm this skeptical where I'd be like, is this something that came from a government lab? Is this, you know what I mean? Like I would not be able, he would have to do some serious trust building exercises with me to convince me that he came from outer space, even if I'm sitting there with said aliens. So, but one other thing I got to add to that, I have a family member who is a very intelligent guy that I respect, and he is a ufologist, and he's out there with his night vision goggles and tracking this stuff. And I think that's fucking cool, man. I totally think that's cool. I think that's a fun hobby, a fun endeavor, an intellectual endeavor. And there's so many mysteries there to unpack. So I don't want to, you know, crap in anyone's UFO cereal either. And I also have a very close friend who has seen Dude Man Thing. All right. Dude Man Thing came into this guy's reality. And it's someone I know, someone I trust implicitly. And I don't know how to square that circle. So there is that. And that's my UFO rant here. Okay, I'll add one thing to it. I didn't watch the hearing, but you can tell by the description that anything they want to examine, like congressionally or whatever, is going to fall under one or multiple of the following categories: airborne clutter, natural atmospheric phenomena, U.S. government or U.S. industry developmental programs, foreign adversary systems, or unexplained sightings that merit further investigation. But I did see a clip where they said they do not think foreign adversary systems are in play here. Now, I don't know how serious they are about that, but I think it's interesting to note, like Corey was saying, you know, I'm with him. I'm a little Mulder about this. I want to believe. But at the same time, you watch Mirage Men or look into the Majestic 12, and you see that there's a giant middle finger to those of us that want to believe, those of us that are trying to understand. And I find that rude. I just find that rude, you know, especially after all the sci-fi they gave us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I often think to myself that, okay, well, and with the categories that you just shared there, Hesher, too. Okay, in 1947, you could get away with something like, oh, it's a weather balloon, you know, it's swamp gas, you know, whatever the refrains were back then. Now you have to come up with a little bit more systematization and kind of institutionalized categories, really, because of just the sheer abundance of information. That's all. I mean, it's the same bullshit, but it has to sound more official, simply because we have that much more information to you know, to sift through and to be exposed to, whether any of it is genuine or not. It's just the sheer amount of data. I think that's why they're responding in this way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it also I mean, that's a great set of categories that nobody will ever be able to get to the bottom of. You know, they can pick one of those for any UAP they want, and we'll all just have to accept that. It's just another bumper sticker for FU. We're not going to tell you, in my opinion. Um, and it's interesting that they've spent the last, I don't know, 2 years kind of pumping us up on this. Like going back to what Ruckus was saying earlier about fake alien invasions. You can go back, you can hear Ronald Reagan use that as a talking point. And going back to what Wandering Wolf was saying earlier about some of the things that can be done in real time and real space that are very realistic looking. Well, holy shit. Let me show you guys this. I'm going to turn the sound off on it because it's from a mainstream band. But this is from a Fish concert. And this, I believe this was just recently. Some of you guys have seen this. I got hip to it from Photon. Thanks, Photon. I saw you share that. And just check this out. For those of you in the listening audience, I'll abbreviate this part. But for those of you viewing the video, check this out. So, Fish concert, you can picture the music, you know, hippie jam band. And I guess these are classified as holograms. I don't know. But we've got whales and dolphins flying above the crowd here. Flying whales. Shout out to Gojira right there for you metalheads.
Did they get permission from the Queen to use their dolphins and whales for this?
Oh, you'll notice there's no swans, Chopper.
They guess they couldn't get the sign off on the swans.
Yeah, I'm sure they're more expensive, but yeah. So Wandering Wolf, that's a pretty good example of kind of what you were talking about right there. I mean, those are amazing visuals.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, the production value and that sort of thing is amazing. And you think about, if you think about the typical budget of a feature film or even a TV show, these budgets are in the hundreds of millions. You know, a $100 million budget is considered cheap. You know, that's the low end. That's your bog standard independent film. And so much of this. These budgets are going into the development and the testing and the perfection of just this kind of technology. There are people in the union who specialize in nothing but visual effects, and of course they're going to try to push that into real time, into meat space, into the 3D world. So I think the technology is only going to get better and better, and you know the implications for this down the track, let's say over the next 5 to 10 years, you know, we're going to start seeing holographic people. We're going to start seeing the capacity to create reality from nothing that is completely believable only get better and better. I mean, that's what we do in the industry. We have this concept of verisimilitude. And what that is going into a space that is completely blank, completely empty, and creating an environment in that space that feels genuine, that feels real. You know, if you look at a lot of films that were shot before the 1970s, they look like they're shot on location. You get the feeling that they're actually shooting in a coffee shop, a restaurant, a hotel room, whatever it is. Nope, those were all on sound stages, and they built all of those environments in massive sound stages, the size of airplane hangars. And you can build out an entire environment in there, and you can light it using specific instruments to make it look like it's any time of day or any place on the planet. I mean, I've shot music videos and TV pilots where we had scenes that were set at noon in a house, and I'm able to use lights called M18s and arcs outside at midnight to make it look like daylight. All I have to do is punch an M18 through some 4x4 silk diffusion outside of a window. Bingo, bango, bongo, you shape it the right way. It looks like the middle of the day. And that's what the craft is. We create reality from nothing, and there's absolutely no way that we're going to continue to limit ourselves in the tools that we can utilize to make these environments come to life. And part of the motivation for this really, I think, came from, I hate to say it, but the Star Wars prequels, because one of the problems that George Lucas ran into was he had actors who were acting on green and blue screens to nothing. They couldn't interact with the environments. They couldn't interact with the digital characters that were going to be composited into the show in post. And so he gets wooden performances, and he gets something that doesn't feel quite real. It had no verisimilitude. The lighting didn't match the environments. And so there's always been a push in the industry to overcome that problem by bringing as much of the visual effects into the realm of what are called practical effects, which is something that you see physically within the mise-en-scène of the film frame. We've been trying to bring that technology into real time so that the actors can actually interact with these digital environments and create that sense of verisimilitude and realism.
Wow. Amazing. And this, what we just saw right there and what you just explained, I mean, you apply that to this whole like militarized special operation forces, psychological operations groups, the goals of globalists, for lack of a better term, and the opportunities for deep faking are endless, and that heads right back to what you were talking about, Ruckus, with like a blue beam sort of alien invasion or something like that. And I remember covering on Boiler Room like 3 years ago or longer, the giant booms in the sky. There was this rash of like unexplained giant sounds in the sky that happened all over the place, and nobody could really explain. And I've always kind of wondered, is that the oral aspect of what we're seeing here visually with the flying whales? Like, if we can have a giant sound available, a god voice, if you will, or a god speaker, something that just can cover an enormous physical space, and then visuals like this that look real. I mean, that doesn't look like a shoddy, like I'm not seeing the laser beams or the holographic crystals or whatever that produce that. It is, like it used to be kind of, the holograms weren't actually holograms, like the Tupac hologram, for example. You could see the lights behind it generating it. Same with the Ronnie James Dio one, whereas these are free floating. They are free flying fucking whales and dolphins over the Fish concert. Oh my God. Chopper, whoever took the freaking LSD at that show is tripping balls, dude. Tripping
Dude,
balls.
I was just thinking that when you were talking about it. Like, what?
It's a Fish show, so there's like 3/4 of the audience.
Oh yeah, they're dosed the fuck out. At least a bunch of them are. I bet that would have been wild, dude. They didn't have shit like that back in my day.
No, me either. I think I might be a Fish fan all of a sudden. Amazing. Absolutely amazing.
I'm glad there were no sharks, dude, to be honest.
Oh my, yeah. We would have to usher Ruckus out.
I think with that one I had heard, or I mean, I guess we need to do a little further research. But I had heard that perhaps in this instance, they were using some sort of actual floating drone or balloon, and then the hologram was kind of shaped around it or something like that, which is even more like crazy technology, right? I'm like,
yeah,
what the hell? So, but I have seen on television, at least not in person, but a couple of years ago, it was some like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I used to watch or catch various things on mainstream television, not conspiracy stuff or news stuff. It's like, hey, wow, check out cool science kind of shows, right? Like, hey, this is neat. Look at this. And like, so it's praising this kind of stuff. I'd seen a demonstration through one of those shows of some hologram and holographic technology that makes all of that stuff look like wussy kindergarten Sesame Street stuff, dude. Like, seriously, I mean, it would be, no joke, very easy for them to fake anything in real time if they really wanted to, whoever they are. I'd even seen this thing where they could project on people's faces in real life and like change their face and how it looks to you, right? By projecting something onto their face, and like now they look like a completely different person. And I was like,
Yeah, so deep fakery is not just something you see on a flat screen, you know what I mean? It's not simply a video that you don't know if it's been edited or AI altered or what. Yes, they can do that in real time. Yes, they're advertising that to us, and yes, any of us, if we can afford the plugin, can buy the consumer grade version of that technology, but that kinda begs the question, what is the military grade version of this technology? Because the commercially available one, apparently, even if you have fish style backing, is much better than it was when we first started tracking deepfakes. So this whole idea of deep faking with what Ruckus just threw out there, with what we just saw at the Fish concert, and with what we've already looked at and know that they can do in real time. Wow. Just imagine the possibilities, right? Like uh, the three-letter agencies and the propagandists, and they're all singing Nina Jankowicz's song right now. They must love this. This is a wet dream for a propagandist, a false flagger, or anyone who wants to, you know, scare large numbers of people or manipulate large numbers of people or add something into the quote unquote reality that doesn't belong there.
And we don't even know if she's real. She could just be pure deep fake hologram.
Right? The karaoke clown herself. Here I am feeling bad about calling her something derogatory. Maybe she's not even real. Oh man, that's the problem with this show. It gets so meta. We just leave people going, nothing is real, everything is fake. Oh my god. All right, let's round it out. You guys. Mindspace art, over to you for any thoughts on what we just saw. I know that was a lot of ground we covered there, but what's your take on this sort of entertainment here, the flying whales at the Fish concert, and then any parting words?
Well, of course, I could throw out the old trope that any advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, right? So there's that element at play here. And also, I thought when you were talking about the three-letter agencies, I wound up thinking, well, okay, if we're downstream from all of that experimentation and they're way more advanced and ahead of us, then we could probably surmise that, there is some degree of experimentation going on a la John C. Lilly style with the VR tech and fill in the blank MK Ultra style hallucinogens, etc., blah, 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 to bring that concert experience that you just saw into your bedroom. Okay. But you're going to have 10 times more of a crazy hallucinogenic, mad psychedelic effect with it. And that could be a further way to keep people sedate. So, I mean, I'm not trying to, go way too wacko futuristic here, but, if they're managing Depop here, then yeah, people with their headsets on in the trailer park is not too far off here. So yeah, I mean, this stuff is just, at least people are at a concert. I mean, at least they're in contact with other people, for God's sakes.
Yeah,
Like I don't know, like when that was the concert actually was. When was it? Did it say?
It was uploaded April 23rd, and I think it was April 22nd of this year.
Okay, so thank God, humanity's still got a pulse.
There you go.
That's a silver lining to that story. So anyway, we're rounding this out, right? So I just want to thank everybody for coming along for the ride here with us. It's been a crazy night with the chat. I feel like we covered a lot of great ground here, and just hope everybody out there is doing all right. And keep your spirits up, because we got a long way to go yet. This battle ain't over.
That's right. Don't burn yourselves out. We're still working it. We're still working the info war here. All right, Chopper, man, we got to go to a concert like this. I hope it doesn't have to be Fish. I'd like to go to a rock show with you. I'd like to go see Clutch. with you, or Gojira or Devin Townsend. Or
I'm down
Meshuggah.
with that. That sounds good. You have me at Clutch, bro. I'm on.
All right.
I haven't seen Clutch.
All right. Nice.
Hell yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, man. So pretty crazy stuff here, and it's here's the thing, man. When I was a young Hesher, me and my friends, if we wanted to trip out in the bedroom, you know, we would listen to Deicide and turn the lights off, and we would throw a glow ball around the room. We had a little, just a little super ball, a little like 2 fist sized super ball that you could put under a flashlight and it would glow. That was how we entertained ourselves when we were on shrooms or whatever. Shout out to Matt, Danny, Nate, and Dustin there. You guys know what I'm talking about. But apparently the new breed of fish fans and like Ruckus was saying there, in the near future here, you're gonna have a lot more cool toys to trip out on, I guess. Our glow ball is gonna be ancient history when people have VR goggles with flying whales in the second bedroom of their single wide.
We don't even need the goggles. I guess they could just beam it at us like that now.
Right? A drone would come in with whatever you want around it.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff, man.
Yeah, man, wild ride tonight. Thanks for joining us, dude. I'm really glad you're able to join us here on the Rockfin. This is Chopper's debut over on the Rockfin and YouTube. So happy to have you here with us tonight, man. And we'll look forward to doing it again. Yeah, over to you for any saved rounds or final thoughts.
No, I'm good. Just yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's a blast like always, and look forward to doing it again. And everyone have a wonderful evening or rest of their day or whenever they're listening.
Right on.
Yeah, that's it, man.
All right, that's Chopper, everybody. Over to Ruckus, the man behind the Daily Ruckus. Ruckus, over to you, man. Get us out of here, and we'll talk to Corey Drayton, and then we'll call it a show.
Man, what a long, interesting conversation. Thanks for having me on board that one. I guess. Thanks a lot.
I promised you it wouldn't go 4 hours, and we just hit 3 by the time we're done here. So I did it.
You did pretty good, my friend. Good job, man. Salute to you. So yeah, let's see. I guess I should remind everyone what's going on with my plate. A lot, apparently, because I haven't been able to crank out the DRs as often as I would like. But I did recently do one, which is part 1 of a 3-part series, and part 2 is coming out tomorrow. And then hopefully part 3 will be Monday. Should be. But yeah, so look for, I hope you will take advantage of tuning in tomorrow night to check that out, probably after the premiere of, let's see, Friday nights we do Sole Purpose. So make sure you tune in to that live stream, which can be found by going to alternatecurrentradio.com. Go to the hamburger menu, the 3 lines, click that open. It says listen live. Click that, and the live player opens up in a new window. And that should be around 8 p.m. Central Time. So thank you, Hesher, for having me on. It was nice hanging out with everybody. Shout out to everyone in the chat rooms everywhere, Discord, Rockfin, YouTube, everywhere. Thanks again. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God save this republic.
All right, you bet. That's Ruckus, everybody. Make sure you're subscribed to the Daily Ruckus, to Sole Purpose, to the Oddcast, to the Mystical American Patriot Society, to Sunday Wire, to the Boiler Room. You definitely want to make sure you're set up for that one. And over to the Wandering Wolf, Corey Drayton. Get us out of here, man. It was great hanging out with you tonight, and I hope you have a great rest of the week here, and we'll do it again next week.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was so good being back. Had an absolute blast being back in the Boiler Room again. It's just such an amazing conversation and discussion. And at the end of every show, I find myself just awash in so many more thoughts and things that I get excited to dig deeper in, research, and talk about. So yeah, thanks so much for having me back. And I look forward to being back next week. And I guess the only thought that I had was really just this idea that the more you try and control your own thoughts, the more you become obsessed with having an internal dialectic in this world that is correct, the more those thoughts control you. So I would say to everyone out there, ask questions of the world, and especially ask questions of yourself, and always question your own thinking at all times. I think that is the key to practicing discernment. And that's the key to, I think, really honestly gaining an understanding of what's going on and getting coordinates for where we are in this crazy world. So yeah, thanks so much for having me back, and look forward to doing it again. Have a great night, everyone.
All right. Yes. Thank you, Corey. Yeah, I believe Walt Whitman said something along the lines of be curious, right? Let's be curious. And doesn't mean we can't have opinions and doesn't mean we can't be critical. But if we remain curious, that by virtue has us remaining open minded in many ways. And we got to be open minded in many ways because apparently the world is largely fake, like Biden's Twitter followers. Peace out, everybody.
That's it. Go ahead and run. Run home and cry to mama.